G.I. Joe figures and vehicles sold separately.
Battle Corps! Cobra needs its gold for their ultimate weapon, but they're not gonna get it.
No, but you are!
It's big, it's bad, and it's gonna blow!
Fire!
It's the Cobra Detonator with long-range air-powered missiles!
Fire!
But G.I. Joe headquarters strikes back with rapid-fire guns!
Got him! Fire!
Cobra Detonator comes with exclusive Nitro Viper figure. G.I. Joe headquarters and other figures sold separately. Batteries not included.
Cobra's got the gold!
And we got trouble.
Get G.I. Joe tough! I died!
Super tough G.I. Joe General, a huge mobile battle fortress with working lights and electronic battlefield sounds.
Cobra attacking! Fire! On the battle copter!
The General has a giant cannon that really fires.
Fire!
With lights, action, and electronic battlefield sounds, nothing beats the General.
A real American hero!
General has lights, 6 electronic sounds, a battlecopter, and major storm.
Mega Marines!
Cobra City's Mega Monsters are unstoppable!
The Mega Monsters attack with crushing tentacles and gruesome gut bombs. But G.I. Joe Mega Marines come equipped with pressure-molded bioarmor.
Battle damage!
And here's the G.I. Joe Monster Blaster APC with its lock-and-load cannon.
Load! Fire!
Mega Marines come with bioarmor. Cobra Mega Monsters and G.I. Joe Monster Blaster APC. Figures and vehicles sold separately. Cave Lab set not available.
You Cobra Monsters are pretty tough, but I'm gung-ho!
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to episode 4 of Neon at Night. We are back after a hiatus. We're back in black and neon, and I got my co-host back after his wedding and his awesome honeymoon, and we got a very special guest for this episode. Someone who, without his never-ending work as a torchbearer of the brand of G.I. Joe, we wouldn't be able to show a lot of the stuff that we do show on our show. So let me go ahead and bring in my co-host, James. What's up, my dude?
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm stellar. How are you?
Oh, glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Yeah. How was the wedding?
Yep. Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. Oh,
How was
yeah.
your honeymoon?
So it was great. Went down to Kentucky, Ohio, and southern Indiana, and went to many different historical places, museums, and all that. It was pretty cool.
Awesome. Very cool.
So
glad to be home.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Glad to be back.
All right, cool.
So.
Well, I'm glad to have you back, my friend. I missed you.
I missed you too, man.
Apparently, our chat missed us as well, because already off the bat, we got Chris in the house.
Hey, Chris.
Padres and Chad podcast, 2 favorite things to watch. I guess he's talking baseball. We got Drew G in the house. He says he's not late. We got Ratface 44 James saying, "Hey, what's up, James?"
Hey, what's up?
We got Phil from Treasures for Trigger. We got my boy Gaz for Gaz right there.
Nice.
Patrick's here, dude. So Big Bacon's in the house.
Nice, man.
We got tons of people. Jim Largo's here. What's up, Jim? Good to have you. Wilhelm Toy and Hobby, cool. Thanks for being here. Ryan B's in the house too. Thanks for being here, Ryan.
Nice.
Congratulations
on
the nuptials. Very cool. Very cool.
Appreciate that.
Wow, we got tons of people. All right. Anyway, let's get out of the chat. Okay, so the main event, what everybody's here for. One of the coolest dudes, most humble guys I've ever met. He's really awesome. His father was career military too, so I can appreciate and respect that. And he's just the true torchbearer of G.I. Joe. Like, I honestly feel without this guy, we'd be missing out on a lot of stuff. And so this guy does a lot for the community, not just for the G.I. Joe community, but like I said before, for our show and my channel. So here we are, none other than Carson Mataxis from 3djoes.com. What's up, Carson?
Hey, what's up, Carson?
You're muted, bro. Yeah, you're muted.
Yo, Joes, what's up, guys?
Hey, yo, Joe.
I thought you were
going?
DJing. How you doing, man? Congratulations on the wedding and the honeymoon. I'm sure that was a ton of fun.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I will not ask for details. I'm sure it was a blast, man.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Chad, it's dude, it's so flattering to hear you say stuff like that. I appreciate it. I consider myself just to be another lifelong fan like you guys. I'm very lucky all the relationships I've been able to build over the last decade, and the history I've been able to unearth, and the projects I've been a part of. I just feel like blessed and very lucky to be able to work on the stuff that I'm working on. And man, none of that would happen without all you guys that support me. So the thank you goes right back to you guys, because you guys are right behind me, pushing me up this mountain of work that's in front of me. So thank you guys so much.
Definitely.
And you are a workaholic, my friend. You work your ass off.
That's my addiction, man. I mean, we've all got our own vices.
That's awesome, though.
I'll be completely honest, man. Like we've all got something that we like struggle with, right? And so growing up, my dad would always tell me he's a workaholic too. He did 28 years in the United States Army, and then he did 20 years in Moore County Public School System. While he was wrapping up in the Army, he finished his doctorate and started a career in public education. So he's sitting on dual retirements right now, and that was my role model growing up, right? So when we would pull into the garage door would open up, and there was this giant whiteboard, and it literally was the Mataxis family goal board. And we had Boy Scouts, and we had karate, and we had whatever sports we were into, and our little goals along the way, and little magnets that you would move along the Metaxas family goal board. You know what I mean? So it was definitely, he was gone a lot with the military, but I think he wanted to make sure while he was gone, we were focused on the mission at hand, And so I was just raised to work, to set goals and work towards them and accomplish them. And once I started applying that to the hobby, a little over 10 years ago, 2012 is when I started my website. It's been amazing, the things I've been able to accomplish, man. But again, none of these projects would happen without the community rallying behind me. So thank you back to you guys and to everybody that helps me do the projects that I set out to do.
You're welcome. It's cool.
Nice.
It's cool.
It was great to finally meet you, by the way. So,
what'd you say?
Says it feels great to finally meet you. I tend to use a lot of your pictures a lot for my reviews.
Nice.
Thank you for that.
My pleasure,
definitely.
man. When I set out to do 3D Joe's, I had a big decision to make. It was like, do I want to watermark this stuff and build my brand or protect my assets or any of that stuff? I was like, hell no.
Yeah.
What I want to do is create crisp, beautiful documentation of all the toys that I love, and I'm not going to muck it up with watermarks. So any YouTube reviewers, people that reach out to me, every time, bar none, when they reach out and say, hey, can I use assets from 3D Joe's? I'm like, yes. All I ask you to do is, put a credit at the end or a little
I always do that now.
Yeah.
I think the first few times I wasn't thinking about that, but then after that I started doing that. So
and it's really just
it's
not an
you have
ego
the best
thing.
Pictures out there.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. We work really hard on it. And it's funny because, like I said, we started the site about 10 years ago. And I look back at the early pages now, and I'm totally discontent with them because our standards have risen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I look at the early vehicle pages, and they kill me. I look at the back of the boxes. So I've had a lot of people over the years that have said, man, I love what you're doing. How can I help? And I'm like, really? And then let me give you something. Let me see if you really want to do it. Because I think a lot of people want to do it, and then they dig in on it and they realize the man hours involved, and they're like, okay, that was cool, thanks, but I got to get back to family or my friends or my jobs or whatever.
Right.
And I totally get that. I don't begrudge anybody that. Finding someone though that has a long-term commitment to contributing to a not-for-profit, website with no ads and stuff like that, it's a challenge. But I've had a lot of people over the years help me out. And what I was gonna say is shout out to Scott Slowiak. He's been helping me pretty consistently for the last couple of years, and my buddy Chad Huckle, he's been there for 8 years helping me out.
Chads are solid guys. I knew you were going to bring up Chad, and I was like, here we go.
Without those guys, I wouldn't have made near the progress that I've made. It's not all on my back, I guess is what I wanted to say. There's other people that help me. So,
right on.
Very rad. Christopher says, "Yo, Carson."
Yo, Christopher, what's up, brother?
Christopher's rad, dude.
It's cool, man. I start to recognize a lot of the names, and trust me, I remember you guys like when I see you on backer reports and all that stuff. So
that's cool.
Speaking of which, I never got my Backerkit email for Operation Recall, but that's an offline conversation.
No, it's not. If you might be one of the ones that used Apple Hide My ID or whatever, is that potentially the case?
Yeah, I use my Apple ID. Well, Well,
That's the issue. So no, this is good. Bring it up in person so that other people that are listening that might have the same issue will know what's going on.
yeah,
So
that's fair.
anybody that used their Apple ID or whatever, Apple hides your email now. So Backerkit cannot get through to you. So what you need to do is reach out to me with your real email address, because I don't have a record of it, right? And then I can just go in the Backerkit, edit it, take out your hide my Apple ID, and put in your real email address, and then I can resend your Backerkit to you. So thank you for bringing that up. I've had a few people like, "Where's my Backerkit?" And I'm like, "Let me check your email."
I'm here for you, my friend. Here for you with my pain. It was the same thing with the Skeletron project. It was the same thing. So yeah, and that's on me. And James, Ratface 44.
Hey, what's up, James?
Hey.
How you doing, brother?
And then Payne's Toy Samples. What's up? And then JD likes my shirt. Well, we got Carson on the show, so I had to wear my fancy neon shirt.
It's got a Chuckles vibe to it.
Yeah. Oh, I've got like 30 of these suckers.
All right, so here's some 90s trivia for you guys. I'm going to try to bring the historical knowledge for you, man. What was his name? Did you know, this is a did you know, that Chuckles almost got a version 2 in 1993?
Oh, wow, I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've seen some pre-production. He was going to be one of the DEF guys, and it was a significantly different outfit, costume, whatever you want to call the figure design, than what he ended up being. The character evolved into, I believe it was Mace, the guy with the giant helmet and the rocket attached to his helmet.
Attached to his helmet, yeah.
Yeah, stupid. And he's like a mainly black outfit, and then I think he's got some brown or yellow trim on him. Anyway, the original character design for him was Chuckles version 2, and he had like a Miami Vice suit on with these padded like shoulder pads, that kind of come out, and it was green. So if you look at the box for what was going to be the DEF Shark 9000 and just became the Battle Corps Shark 9000, he's on the box, and he's actually in his original looking green suit. So there's your trivia. Chuckles version 2.
That is really cool.
There you go, James. That's James's.
I wonder what his weapons tree. I wonder what his weapons tree would have looked like. Because the original one only came with like a pistol. A pistol and like a holster. So
that's I was born in '79. I started watching the cartoon around '84. I didn't get my first figure till '86, but I'm very much squarely a mid '80s Joe kid, And by 1990, I collected straight through 1990, and then I stopped. Right, so I missed the '90s.
Right.
But as an adult doing 3D Joes, I razored most of 90 to 94 open, and for the first time got to experience them, as new toys with the weapons trees and breaking everything off and stuff. And I found a lot to love. There's a lot of cool figures in the 90s, but the weapons trees drive me crazy.
I know they drive a lot of people nuts. So
I cannot I don't need Voltar.
It even drives me crazy a little bit.
I don't need Voltar's gun with 13 different figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Christopher was asking, was it a mail-in offer?
No, Mace was just going to be one of the standard DEF figures. So 1992 DEF was not that big of a hit. And going into 93, they had a lot of new sub-brands that they were going to be releasing. And so they just decided to simplify the line a little bit. And that's why you didn't get the next wave of Eco Warriors or DEF. It wasn't that they were a tremendous failure or anything. It's that Kirk Bazigian and Vinny DeLivia decided to simplify the line and roll them into Battle Corps. They made more figures in 93 than any other year. The decision was just to simplify it by eliminating a couple sub-brands. So he was just going to be a standard carded figure.
I want to say hey to Hector from Elite Legends Toys and Collectibles. So thanks for being here, Hector.
What's he talking about? The helmet? Is he talking about the helmets? Check this out. What? Can you see him? Oh shit.
Maybe. Yeah, those helmets are red.
That's a Linville King, man. Pit Viper Studios. If I stand up.
Oh, that's cool, man. That is so cool.
There we go.
I have a lot of Lens stuff too. So
Lynn is like a.
Those are awesome.
There we go. Lynn is a mastermind. That dude is like a super craftsman.
He's done now.
He is done. He's retired. God bless him. Man, I'll tell you, the last 2 or 3 years that he was doing it, he had some health issues. He had a brain surgery.
He worked his ass off.
Yeah. Well, that, and he's exposing himself to significant chemicals, and you got to worry about, what he was doing with fiberglass. And breathing that stuff in. I know he always wore protection and
Right.
everything, but still. But he was in the military too, right? And he had some blowback from that. I think he had some brain stuff going on. Anyway, the last couple years, I basically told him, man, like, you make me a helmet every 2 or 3 months, and I'll buy a helmet every 2 or 3 months. So for like the last couple years, I was able to load up on those. So
yeah, and the
Right
guy
on,
who
that's
took
awesome.
over the guy who took over Pit Viper did a really good job, and like he still sends out updates like, hey, I'm working on this order number through this order number now, and here's the, he sends a lot of
is there someone
reports.
that took over for him that's still producing?
Yeah.
Oh
100%.
wow, I did not know that. What's his name? Do you have any idea? No. I can look up. Is the Facebook group still active?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
send you his contact information.
Sweet.
I've got it in my messenger.
I'll go check it out. I knew Lynn was looking for a buyer, right?
Yep.
He was willing to sell all his molds and kind of pass the torch or whatever, but I didn't know he actually found one. That's awesome.
He sure did. Yeah, and the guy's pretty
Okay,
cool.
my phone is messing up. I can only hear like audio. I can't even see you guys right now, so I'm just gonna listen to you guys.
All right,
Just wing it, dude. We don't know.
Messing up.
We still hear you, man. We still see you and hear you, so you're good.
Okay, cool. Okay, all right.
Just be mindful that we can still see you.
Yes,
Right.
keep your shirt
Yep.
on.
Okay, I will. I promise. Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do here, gentlemen, is we are going to get into it. Carson,
Nice.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Do it.
All right. So first, as we always do on Neon at Night, we talk some figures, we talk some vehicles. Maybe there's a honorable mention. It might be dishonorable mention. Who knows? We don't really have a theme for this show because it's our show back. And really, we're just here to celebrate. And we're going to put the spotlight on you, Carson. So first figure, Big Ben.
Yes, sir.
1991 Big Ben. James, what do you got for Big Ben?
He's a pretty cool British character, honestly, he's one of the ones that I know probably the least about, but I have always liked his accessories that he came with. And great art on the card, and he's just pretty cool looking, but he's actually one of the few guys that I know the least about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's also SAS, and then there's some pictures of the figures. And oh, look, these images are courtesy of 3djoes.com. Thank you very much, Carson.
Nice. Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much.
As always. And then whenever I can, I always try to be consistent, and I put a modern figure in there. So that's the 2015 figure subscription service version of Big Ben. Carson, what do you have to regale us with regarding Big Ben?
Yeah, so this was the last year that I was actively collecting G.I. Joe, and I've got to say, 1990 is a high watermark for accessories. If you look at Bullhorn and Ambush and Big Ben, they were doing things in 1990 that they had heretofore not done yet, right? So I'll just for a second talk about Bullhorn. That case that opened up and then had the firearm that broke down into 3 pieces. Freaking brilliant. Regarding Big Ben, his little pouch with his couple grenades was brilliant. We had not had usable grenades before. Giving him a little pouch to hold them. Yeah, the pouch looks kind of big and kind of clunky, but I don't think there's any better way to do it at 3 3/4 inches. So I love the grenades, love the machine gun, love the bipod, love the backpack. I love the character design. Candidly, he's not neon 90s yet. You know what I mean? We weren't in that neon era. He's still very believable, military kind of. He fits in with the 80s Joes perfectly. Great mold, great sculpt, great paint apps. I love the bandoliers, the colors. I'm digging him, man. He's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And he was in the comic book too, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I'm a fan.
I'm going to move you up just in case. Because anytime I show comments, I don't like that it cuts the guest off. James, are you cool with that?
Yeah, again, I can only hear you guys. I'm having trouble seeing you guys a lot, so I'm not sure what's going on with my phone. But anyway, it's like coming in and out.
Yeah, no, I'm still seeing you, man. You're not covered by comments either. We got your little head right above the comments. So
yeah, you're like
okay. All right.
All right. But yeah, Big Ben's solid, man. How you feel about him, Chad?
I really like Big Ben. I also like the fact that I think they did a really great sculpt on that. I guess it's an M240 Bravo. It looks like an M240 Bravo, which would fit with the British having it before the Americans, because we use it as a replacement for the M60, also known as the Pig. And I think it's a great figure. It's a really good sculpt. I definitely agree with you on all the stuff you hit on with the grenades. As you can see, I'm like right down there. The grenades are real cool. And yes, he's just a great figure. I like the fact that, he's British SAS, which I thought was cool. They showed the SAS some love. Whereas you really saw a lot of SAS getting some love from the Action Force side of the house. But I thought it was really cool that G.I. Joe did it as well. I just wanted you to
historically speaking, Ron Rudat designed Snake Eyes all in black as a tribute to the SAS figures. So they were thinking of SAS Commandos. Cool. Yeah, they were thinking of SAS Commandos all the way back in 1981, Yeah,
that's really cool.
Oh, wow.
To finally get an SAS figure in, it says it on the file card and it reads that way in the comic books. Really cool. But yeah, they were definitely, I think Ron Rudat especially wanted it to be an international fighting force and was thinking that way early on.
Yeah. That's really cool.
And we don't always just show neon. Like, we just called the show Neon at Night because it's a celebration of 90 to 94.
Right. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't know is like the whole 90s were not all neon. If you look at Shipwreck version 2, he's black and gray all over, man. That's a brilliant figure.
Yep.
I love Shipwreck version 2.
That's a great figure.
I would say about like half of it, it's like half and half,
Yeah.
Like half militaristic and then half, the neon colors and all that stuff. But it's about half and half.
Mm-hmm. Sassy.
Yeah, sassy. Yeah, play on words. I have to say that every time we do one of these episodes, Carson, we get people educated on figures that they never knew existed. Like maybe they don't go through like the Belomo guide or your stuff or anything like that, and they just don't know. Like I showed Headhunter Stormtrooper, which for me is one of my favorite army builders ever.
The best.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The best 1990s army builder.
So good.
He is
amazing.
I
showed the Crimson Guard Immortal because I'm a big fan of the army builders, and people are like, I've never seen this figure before. Every time we do one of these shows, we always hear that. I never knew this figure existed. I've never seen that vehicle before.
When Mark Weber
my
took
favorite
over
one's the Bat version 2.
Yeah, Bat version 2, 1990, 91.
Yeah,
no, we're not.
That's my favorite army builder.
When Mark Weber took over the brand, I remember he had an interview with the G.I. Joe Collectors Club, and they asked him who was his favorite figure, or what are some figures that he wants to see remade in that modern 4-inch scale that they were doing at the time. And he answered Headhunter Stormtrooper, and that's when I was like, we're in good hands. This guy knows his stuff. Because Headhunter Stormtroopers, he's basically just black and gray with touches of gold. Like, he would have been an amazing Iron Grenadier. I feel like his color palette fits in with those late 80 Iron Grenadiers really well.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great figure. Okay. Now we're gonna move on. I think somebody just mentioned this. Boop.
There he goes.
Yep. My favorite army builder. Bat version 2.
Yeah.
1991. Yep.
James, you wanna give us some thoughts?
Sure.
Battle Android Trooper version 2.
I actually prefer. I mean, I've always liked the very first version of the Bat from 1986, but I don't know. This one's got more. I've always liked the bright colors. That's just me. That's my whole period of like being a kid was during the whole 90s. The early 90s, and that's the Bat that I grew up with. And I mean, his accessories are just awesome. His backpack has a missile launcher on it, and you can hook one of his accessories to it. And I just like his color. He just looks awesome.
Yeah, you can definitely plug his spring-loaded neon missile launcher into his back right there. And then again, as
bright
always,
like green.
Yeah, my public service announcement is this is the modern JoeCon 2017. But in the modern, it's the Bat version 1.8. Carson, do you know why it's not Bat version 2? It's 1.8 for the modern?
I really don't. I do not. No clue.
I was never able to find a suitable answer for that. It's just like, well, that's what we call it. And like, I mean, I have mine right here, and yeah, that's exactly what it says on it. Bat version 1.8.
I mean, are we sure that's not
That's
supposed to be
weird.
Bat version 18?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's so
It's
many of them.
Definitely not. It's definitely not 18, but
Yeah.
I don't know why it's 1.8. No idea.
So I am a friend and a fan of the folks at YoJo, and so I'm gonna click over to YoJo and see what they got here for versions, man. 18 2008. So that's not the answer. What is version 1.8? I have no clue. The version before that was Cobra Vat version 23. So that would have been version 24.
Wow.
They actually, YoJo does keep V24 in parentheses after V1.8. So I don't know. Is there anything on the file card that indicates why they did that naming?
No.
Okay. I bet it's tied to some lore. I mean, there's got to be some rationale for it.
Something. Yeah. I don't know.
Right. Somebody throw it in the comments.
1.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the version 1.8 and then the version 1.8 squad leader, which is instead of orange, he's red. And that figure loose is about $300. So I do not have that figure. You know, the modern ones, they just get really expensive.
Wow.
So unfortunately, but they do. Cool. Carson, you got anything for
Yeah, so I'm always going to be honest with you guys, all right? And I've got to say 1986 Bats was one of the flawless figures of my childhood. I was very attached to that figure and remained attached to this day. He was one of the few that our army built for the sole purpose as a kid that I could put the different attachments on the different ones that our army built, so I could have my 4 bats with my 4 arm attachments. And I was just very attached to that figure, and it's hard for me to look at this figure and accept it as the next version of that figure. So yeah, I'm not going to say I don't hate it, but it will never hold a candle compared to my perfect memories of Bat version 1. So I'll be honest with you, man. I don't love them all.
Okay, that's all right. We all have opinions. So
yeah, of course. And it's completely subjective. This is art, right? So that's what I tell everybody about G.I. Joe. A lot of people that look at G.I. Joe and they're like, these are just plastic toys, little action figures. I'm like, dude, you're so wrong. It's art. Because first it was conceptually art. Second, it was sculpture art. Third, it was painted package art. Like there's so many different artists that touch this stuff to bring it to life for us. Then there's authors and illustrators that bring it to life through comics. Like G.I. Joe is art in a bunch of different media, you know what I mean? And so I can look at this and I can appreciate the artisan, like the craftsmanship of the sculptor and the figure designer and all that kind of stuff. But just for me personally, I'm too attached to 1986 to accept this one kind of as my next one. You know what I mean?
And
how old are you guys?
All those mememories of, from when you were a kid, with the first version, all those memories, which definitely helped.
I grew up in horse country, and there was only like one other like young dude that I could be friends with that lived like 2 miles away, and so we'd walk and we'd meet in the middle. And there was this giant sand. There's this giant sand mountain, and it was just like about halfway. So we would meet there and like stage all these G.I. Joe battles on that. And I remember I lost some of my. Yeah, but these are the memories that always stick with you, And I remember losing some of my bat accessories on Sand Mountain and going back to it and eventually finding those accessories. And so I'm just very attached to 86 bats, you know what I mean? So it's hard to replace
it. Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I concur. I like the Bat version 2. To me, it is not a suitable sequel and or replacement to the Bat version 1. I like the colors, the black, the silver, the yellow, the pops of red, the little bit of green. It just does it for me. But I also custom build a lot of bats, so I got all sorts of stuff going on with that. All right, cool.
I'm just glad you didn't bring up Cobra BAAT.
That's
horrible.
That is a weird looking.
Yeah,
that is like an abomination, pretty much. That's probably my least favorite bat. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Scuba Pete, what's up, Pete? Pete's in the house.
What up, Pete?
What were you going to ask, Carson? How old are we?
Oh yeah. So what year were you born, and what year did you start collecting G.I. Joe?
James.
Me? Oh, I was born in 1982, and my very first vehicle and figure playset was the Sea Ray with Sea Slug, actually, in 1987.
That's a great one.
And I started collecting G.I. Joe in, the late 80s to the early 90s. So I do have a lot of love for the 80s too, but I'm more of a 90s guy, but I do like the late 80s stuff. Yeah. Oh, and I'm also 40.
I was born in 1974, and I hit G.I. Joe ground floor 82.
Nice.
And once I was in, that's it. It took over everything.
You're lucky, man. As someone that started, I begged my mom for 2 years before she finally started buying them for me in '86. But as someone that finally got some, money to like start buying these in '86, it was so hard to track down 82 to 80. I could get 85 because they were still on the shelves, but to get the 82 to 84 figures and vehicles, like you had to trade for them. It was so hard, man.
Yeah.
So you're lucky you got
now.
it. Now I have them all. No, there's always something else to chase, but I got at least one. I don't have all the variants, and
Yeah. There's always something to chase. All right.
Yeah.
Ready?
We're
looking at the 1991 Kellogg Cereal Mail Away Lifeline version 3, and this was actually James's pick, right, James?
Yep, it sure was. That's one of my favorite Joes, actually. I actually still remember doing the whole mail away thing with my dad once we got that box of cereal, and I saw that the advertisement on the back of the box. I was like, wow, I had to have that. Come on, Dad, can we do that? Blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, okay. So we filled out the little card or form or whatever it was, and he turned it in. And I think it was about a month later is when I got it, and I was just so excited. And I think I was about 9 years old then. And I just remember playing with it like constantly. That was one of my favorite Joes. So that was my introduction to Lifeline.
And had you already seen him on the cartoon and like knew who the character was? And
not really, because I was watching the DIC series. And I don't think he was really in that series a whole lot.
He wasn't. I put that on for you guys tonight, by the way, so that should be playing right there.
Oh, cool.
I should have the Deke for you. Oh, no, that's the kitchen. That's Akira. The Deke series is right there. There you go.
Dude, is your camera following you?
Yeah, it's the Apple Studio display, so as you move around, it goes
right
with
on.
you. But the monitor,
that is really cool.
It's just like a zoom. It's like a pan and scan. Like nothing's actually moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty rad. Look at you.
Yeah.
You're all next level and shit.
But I don't have any lighting in front of me, so I look purple.
Right.
I'm neon. So
Very
anyway.
cool.
This figure's awesome, man. I could see, because he was long gone. This dude was on shelves in 86, 87. So to be able to get him in 90, 91, that's pretty awesome. So do you guys know historically what they did to change him and everything, right?
Yeah, they made it so where he doesn't carry a pistol. He doesn't carry a gun because during 1991, there were some changes going on in the toy industry where people were starting to shy away from like militaristic type stuff and like guns and all that, right?
Oh, absolutely. So Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and other things had come along that were less gunplay,
Right.
Here's a little interesting piece of trivia. Ninja Turtles, the movie, did really well, but parents were like, what the hell is this? They're bladed weapons and they're out there fighting each other and cutting people up and stuff. And so if you watch Ninja Turtles 2, the movie studio completely caved to the pressure of the parents, and all you see them beating people up with is like harmless stuff. So like Michelangelo,
trash can lids. Yeah.
Yes. So Michelangelo, instead of having his nunchucks, they'll be in like a pizza salami shop, and he'll grab 2 pieces of sausages that are tied together, and he'll be beating people up with sausages. It's ridiculous.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
and
this is
cool.
because of the caving to pressure of parents in the early 90s to weapons that could actually do harm. And so I don't know for a fact that that's why this happened, but you're absolutely right. There was a lot of pressure in the early 90s from parents that were kind of anti-violence. Lifeline, he had a different set of legs originally. They got rid of the legs because it had a molded holster and pistol. What I find interesting though is that the chest still has a pistol holster on that left breast, So they didn't get rid of every kind of, legacy because he carried a pistol with the original figure, and so you figured that went into the holster on the left.
He had a nice silver 1911.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good sidearm right there.
I shot a 1911 45 today, man.
That's cool.
Went to the range with my dad, my nephew, my brother, and my other nephew from the other side. So we shot a lot of stuff today. It was a good time.
Speaking of your dad, and I know you and I have kind of talked about this offline. And when I did all that stuff not that long ago with Fifth Group, remember when I told you I was going out with Fifth Group, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys know Mataxis?" Like, I don't know your dad's rank.
And he was lieutenant colonel.
Yeah. Do any of you know? And then one of the E9s was like, "Yeah, that name sounds really familiar." And I'm like, "Well, think on it and let me know." And I'm like, "Because I know his kid."
Nice. Yeah. So interestingly, my older brother, he's 2 years older. He's in right now, and he's the same rank that my dad achieved, lieutenant colonel. And my brother, while not being special forces, he was just in JSOC. So he kind of runs still runs in the same circles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they might have known Mataxis from my dad or Mataxis from my brother. Maybe Mataxis, my brother, might be more, well known at this point.
You got all these officers. I'm just a crusty old NCO.
Oh, come on. They just went to officer training, officer candidate school. You could have done it too if you wanted to.
I could have. No, I love being an NCO. I turned it down.
NCOs are the backbone of the military, man. Those butter bars couldn't do anything without you guys.
You're damn right. We are the backbone of the military.
Yes,
so,
hell yeah, man.
So here's the box again, and it's either Lifeline version 3 or you're getting a My Little Pony. I'm sure I'm going to go with Lifeline.
I'm not getting
all the people that don't know.
For sure, man.
Nice hairdo. I will say there was also a coupon in there for the battle wagon. I think they were trying to clear that off of shelves. Shout out to Dan Moore, also fellow Army guy. He was based over in Kentucky. What's that base name right there?
Fort Campbell,
where they have 101st. Yeah,
Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Fort Campbell, yeah. So he's stationed at Fort Campbell. But Dan Moore, shout out. He's the one that's given us, us being 3D Joes, a lot of these rare assets like this Rice Krispies box, man. So he's an amazing peripheral collector. He collects all the licensed products, and man, he's got an amazing collection.
That's awesome.
So shout out Dan Moore.
Thank you, Dan, because you passed the savings on to us.
That's right.
So
man.
Real quick.
That's right.
So Johnny B's in the house, and he said parents were against weapons as toys. That didn't start because a cop shot a kid holding a laser tag gun. Remember that being a thing? That was actually, sadly, that was the thing in a lot of places. Back in Brooklyn, I almost got popped by a cop because I was walking down the street with a cap gun. So it happens. And then I have to shout out two people. So Keith Bradshaw, he is an amazing toy photographer. And he does all the KB toy photography on Facebook that you'll see. And he's actually on vacation in Hawaii and said that he was probably going to pop in. And I was like, hey, man, if you do, you do. If you don't, I get it. You're on vacation. So he said, aloha from Hawaii. Wanted to check in for a few before rounds of drinks. Lifeline was actually one of my favorite figures in the original line. So thanks for coming, Keith.
I like that handle there.
Some of his pictures, he looks like he's having a great time.
The nickname, his handle's pretty brilliant. Jotographs. I like it.
And his stuff is brilliant. He does 118 and 112 scale, so he shows love to both. And then I have to send a huge shout out to my friend, the legend himself, Zazel from Sergeant Slaughter.
Yo, what up, Zazel?
Yeah, Zazel's the man, dude.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's great. I never get tired of talking to him. That accent. Wow.
He's such a rad dude. And then Tony Romo's here too.
Tony Romo.
Romo.
Okay.
Yeah, not that Tony.
What are you talking about? He's watching football.
No, that Tony Romo came to see you, dude. Everybody comes to see you.
Wow.
All right. Anyway,
hit the big time. So I will say the one downside to this version of Lifeline, in my opinion, is the missing breather mask. I totally get that they took the pistol away, but where's, and I don't know if that's the actual name for the accessory. So man, I'm just going to give shout outs all night when I think about who did what. And because man, there's literally so many people that have helped me with 3D Joes that need the shout outs and need the appreciation. So my buddy, Tom Estes, Evil E on the boards. He was big in the OG 13 days. That's where I think I originally met him. He ended up being from Raleigh, where I was living for 25 years. And Tom and I became good friends, and he ended up coming in and working with me when COVID hit. He got temporary laid off for a while or whatever, and so I brought him in, and he was working on 3D Joes with me. And he went into 3D Joes. He went to every figure page. He transcribed every card back to say the exact accessory names, right? So we could put that right under the figure. So Lifeline comes with an EMS kit with an oxygen mask, a Browning double action 9mm pistol, and a relay backpack. So I hate that we're missing the oxygen mask that came with the EMS kit. I get taking the pistol away, but where's my mask, man?
At least give him the nasal cannula, you know what I mean? The little nasal one.
Yeah, the little wire thing. Yeah. But they weren't going to mold and make anything.
I didn't really know any better, but
right. If you hadn't had the original, you wouldn't miss that. But
I'm not saying. I'm just saying my secondary MOS is combat medic. Don't tell anybody.
Nice.
That's cool, man.
What else do we have for Lifeline version 3, gentlemen?
I will say there's a visual language to Lifeline, which was carried through on Stretcher. So if you look at on the backpack, that 3 vertical red bars with cropped within the shape of a circle, that shows up again on Stretcher's sled window sticker. So that's really cool. Like,
cool.
Some of the guys on G.I. Joe, they didn't have continuity of designers, between the years. There was a Ron Rudat, and then there was a Mark Pennington, and then there was a Kirk Groen. And I need to learn the rest, but suffice it to say there wasn't continuity throughout, and you had different brand managers come and go and stuff like that. So when you had continuity between the years, Lifeline being 86 and Stretcher being 1991, whichever, it's pretty cool that they got that right and that they had that continuity, for the iconography.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right, Carson, I'm going to put you on the spot. Doc or Lifeline?
I'm going to go Lifeline, actually, man.
Woo, there it is.
I am. I'm going to go Lifeline. I like his accessories better. Doc showed up in the cartoon, but Lifeline showed up in the cartoon a lot too. So I feel like with the cartoon, it's an even break. With the comic book, I think Doc might have got some more shine. But me being able to start buying in 86 and Lifeline being my medic for those first few crucial years, I eventually definitely did get Doc. But I think, honestly, man, this is going to sound a little controversial, maybe. G.I. Joe in 82, from a figure design perspective, is pretty bland. Because they were going to trade and cross sample parts across different figures, and so you couldn't be incredibly unique with these parts if they were going to show up on 4 different figures, right? So you'd have a pair of regular legs with 2 pouches, and then a pair of legs with 1 pouch. It was like simple stuff. Lifeline to me, as a sculpt, as a figure design, is so much more unique and enjoyable than Doc. And I love Doc. Don't get me wrong. Don't take it the wrong way. But I'm Lifeline, man. No hesitation.
Hey, you know what? If you put up Breaker and Dial Tone, I'm Dial Tone.
Dial Tone all day. All day.
Breaker's
boring, man. Breaker's boring. And he didn't even have a weapon,
Yeah, it's just like, here's your headset. Go that way. It's like,
go talk.
He's basically a runner. He's a runner at that point. Here's a question for you, Carson. Did Lifeline ever have a repaint job throughout the years?
Yeah, Tiger Force. Absolutely. 1988.
Yep.
I'm making you work, dude.
Keep throwing them, man. Keep throwing them. Let's go. That was a softball.
That was softball. You're like, ugh.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
This is
he actually had I think the Fun School version of Lifeline Tiger Force is pretty badass. It might be better than the US version. So absolutely, man. We can never have too many medics, no doubt.
Yeah,
I do really like how, and this is another thing, I'll praise the designers, man, when they deserve it. Doc's stretcher works with the Dragonfly to lay right underneath with the little pegs kind of keeping it in place from moving around. And that kind of early on kind of looping the different accessories and vehicles together to make them play together, that's brilliant, man. So I'll give Doc that.
Oh yeah.
And then the way that Action Force tied in the stretcher with their version of the APC, the ATC, where it actually like fits down in, is brilliant. Brilliant.
I'll give the Action Force people respect for the modifications that they made to the vehicles. They were always an improvement. And I'll also give their designers props on their sticker sheets. Their sticker sheets are quantifiably better than ours. It's like, that's not subjective. They are better. You know what I mean?
So when I got my ATC, it was actually... Go ahead, James.
Oh, okay. The sticker sheets that we got in the 90s were pure crap. They're like paper sticker sheets.
Dude, especially when you get a plane that has a water gimmick with paper stickers. Like
exactly. Like what is up?
I was lucky
that
mine. Yeah, I was lucky that both of mine didn't have shit stickers.
That's the okay. So those you guys, we've now touched on the two things that I hate about the '90s: paper stickers and the stupid weapons trees where you get the same weapon again and again and again and again.
Right.
And it's such like a identifiable,
you
know, like, okay, that's Rock Viper's rifle or that's Voltar's rifle. You remember as a kid, you're like, that's so-and-so's weapon. What the heck is this person doing with it? And it's just
a reuse of a Battle Force 2000 weapon.
Yeah. It's
I think at that time they're trying to save a lot of money, you know.
They were absolutely, and it makes sense when you think of the volume of the figures that they were creating. If they put the same kind of ideation and refinement and sculpting and molding efforts into creating unique accessories for the almost 100 figures they released in 1993, they never would have gotten through it with the staffing that they had. So I know why they did it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to forgive them for doing it.
I got two quick questions for you, Carson. I have two quick questions for you in succession, and then we're gonna move on. So, Josiah, wasn't Lifeline Robo Joe?
Oh, damn! I don't think so. I'm gonna check this website though.
That's not a sophomore question.
No, I don't think so. I never have thought that. Was that 93 Star Brigade or was that 90? Yep, 93 Star Brigade.
Yep, that was the Star Brigade Armor Tech.
All right. So file name, Greg D. Scott. And we do have his serial number. So let's go back to 3D Joe's, go to 86, and we're going to check out Lifeline. I'm going to be blown away if this is the case. Nope. Edwin C. Steen, serial number 128032496 is Lifeline. And Greg D. Scott, serial number 23H. I49859 is Robo Joe. So Greg Scott was actually a scientific engineer genius. He was working in his laboratory one night on top secret plans for robotic battle armor suits to fight Cobra in space, and there was a lab accident. It was raided by Destro, who managed to capture some plans and fatally wounded the young inventor, leaving him shattered, a shell of a man. So yeah, no, it's definitely not Lifeline.
No.
It sounds like a cross between the Flash and Cyborg. And then I got one more question for you, and then we're going to move on. Completely off topic, but somebody came and hung out with us and asked, so I'm going to show it.
Yes, I'm single. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, buddy.
What do you think? Oh, I mean, we could talk about this. You guys,
no, I think we're not going to. I just want to keep it short.
If you know me, for those people that know me by now, I think they'll believe with their hearts, hopefully, that I'm an honest person. And so when people ask me questions, I'm not going to be a shill. If I love something, I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to talk about it with all the enthusiasm in the world. But if I don't love something, you're not going to get that from me. And so Lieutenant Falcon for Classified, I have a beautiful custom made by Ray Murphy that I'm in love with.
Yes, you do.
I'm in love with it. And so that set the bar really high. And so when they revealed the official Lieutenant Falcon, and I look at the boots and it's World War II style boots, and I look at the Vietnamese tiger stripe fatigue camo, and that's gone, non-existent.
Yep.
And I look at the head sculpt, and it looks like Team America World Police.
It's
I'm
Gary from Team America. Yeah.
I'm not thrilled, man. Like, I'm very happy that Falcon is showing up because my dad's SF, and that explains my connection to Falcon back in the day. And I'm a big, proponent for Falcon. I love Falcon. I'm glad he's coming to Classified, but it's not a home run.
No,
it's not.
Okay, so we're going to move on, but lately their digital renders and then the figure that they produce, they do not match. Like Stalker was kind of the first, and then once they came out with that sculpt of Lieutenant Falcon, I was like, who sculpted that face?
Interesting.
Anyway, and I even told you offline, I was like, man, your custom is 10 times better than that thing.
And I was looking forward to theirs because the only thing about my custom is that he's easily identifiable as Duke for the head sculpt, right? So I was like really looking forward to a unique head sculpt for Lieutenant Falcon. And then we got Team America World Police Falcon. And I'm like, no, that's not better. So I'm honest, man. I can't sugarcoat it. I'm sorry, guys. And then, I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings watching this.
Whatever. They're toys. They can get over it. And then JD said Lifeline from 2002 was Robo Joe. So
okay,
cool.
That's interesting.
Right. Thank you, JD. And now we are going to drive on. Neon, go.
There he is.
Yep. 1993. Night Creeper version 2. James?
I had him when I was a kid, so I'm going to be a little biased here. He's one of my favorite Ninja Force figures. Yeah, I like everything about him. I mean, I like the way his head sculpt looks and everything. It looks kind of like a bug with this red glow going on for eyes. He's just badass looking. He's definitely bright. He's got a lot of brightness going on. I'm not too keen on all the pink on the card and everything, but everything else is just awesome. Ninja Force is one of my favorite sub teams of all time. So really a whole lot of cool things about this guy. A lot of reused weapons. Yeah, he's got a weapons tree, but
Storm Shadow version 2's bow.
What else? Yeah,
which is awesome. So, I'm actually okay with that usage here. This is Ninja Force, and it makes sense that another ninja might use a compound bow. That's not an egregious, usage of a weapons tree previous weapon. You know what I mean?
No, that is not an insult onto the bow. It's just pointing it out.
Yeah,
pointing it out.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, Carson, let me ask you a question. You might know this answer because you know pretty much everything. Nope. Why the change in the file card shape?
I don't know. I don't know, but I think it was a horrible decision, candidly. What I do know is that they were making more and more changes at this point.
Yeah.
That seemed to be arbitrary. There didn't seem to be market research or a big rationale for it. It was change for change's sake. When you have a packaging formula, when you're working with an external packaging company, they're going to keep you honest because they're working with other brands and other customers, and they'll tell you what kind of industry practice is for having a consistent brand appearance across your entire line for X number of years. And it doesn't help build your brand equity to be changing things every year or two, right? And so when you look at when they were using external packaging vendors from 1969 until 1989, it stayed more consistent for longer. Once they brought it in-house, the vice president that was in charge of all packaging, Matt Lysak, and his kind of direct reports that were looking to one day replace Matt, I think what you ended up with once the packaging came back in-house in 1990 was change for change's sake, and a lot of people trying to leave their mark on it. And so you had a lot of changes from 90, more so 93, 94 was just chaos.
Yep.
All the changes that they made. They went from the typical 6x9 card to a 6x10 card. They went from the normal file card to the square file card.
They had a square card,
And then in 94, they went from this rectangular card with the cutout line to the baseball card. It was just chaos, man. And we'll take this another step further. Look at that artwork that they're using for the DEF and the Battle Core there. That's internal presentation artwork. That's not polished package art. That doesn't belong on a package. If you look at BioViper, And you look at what was the other giant Ninja Turtle looking one? You know, there's the one with the tentacles, and then there's the one with the gut bomb.
That's the Monstro Viper.
Monstro Viper and Bio Viper. If you look at those two, look at their file cards. They didn't even create package artwork for those. They just put the presentation artwork, which, you know me, guys, I love the package painting as I spent 8 years of my life trying to preserve it. So when I start to see card art being put on the back burner and just them throwing presentation artwork on here, you're literally breaking the brand standards that you developed that were so successful for you for over 10 years now at this point. So your question was, why did they change the shape? I think my answer is somebody wanted to leave their mark on the brand. And, you know, at this point, it was all internal, and you see the chaotic results.
You know, and that's actually a very good way to articulate that statement, is that you see that a lot in all sorts of industries and commerce, in the military as well, right? You get some new,
it's like an ego thing, right?
Yeah, you get some new leader in and they're like, oh, I'm going to change it up. It's like, yeah, but this works. No, we're going to do this instead.
It's change for change's sake. You know, so you can make a mark. I mean, it might not be ego. It might be like they genuinely want to have an impact and make things more successful. And they probably think this is going to be the thing that makes it more successful. You know what I mean? So it might not be like, you know, ego, I want my name on it. They probably have genuine feelings of wanting to help, you know. But I think when you're working with an external packaging company that's dealing with other brands, they can rein some of that in, you know?
Yeah. And then, you know, you've been invested in a line for a decade plus, and you've got stacks of file cards, and then they go from being like uniform to, you know, all messed up. It's kind of dumb.
Pretty frustrating.
So here's the figure itself. This image is courtesy of some dude that we know that might be appearing on our show, but hey, there he is right there.
There you go.
There you go, James. There's your Night Creeper version 2.
It's just so badass looking. I mean, just you know, it's just my opinion, but it just looks so awesome.
We're all entitled to him.
Yeah. Huh?
We're all entitled to our own opinions.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool seeing the live action version of him in the television commercials.
Yeah. I've been recording the commercials lately, and I did see that commercial. When I was a kid, funny enough, I never saw that commercial, but as an adult, seeing it now, just it looks really, really cool. Interesting, for sure.
Yeah,
so kids, public service announcement. If you want to see all the cool G.I. Joe commercials, go look at 3D Joe's on YouTube.
So thank you. I appreciate that. Just so people know, they're organized into playlists by year. And so, you know, when they started getting into the live action TV commercials, they actually told linear or serial storytelling. So one commercial they build on to the next, And so we've done our best to digitize. We've gotten a few masters in hand, you know, where they used to record them to VHS and call it a master. Usually it would be on beta back then, but we've gotten some VHS masters, and we've done some rips internally straight into DVD, and then been able to use the digital files. And so we've got some really clean versions of a lot of the commercials. One of those was Kurt Busigian hooked us up with the early 90s live action stuff. So we've got some really clean versions of that. I will say, as you're there, you will notice, if you're one of those people that watched these cartoons back in the day and then remember storylines and stuff, we're still missing a couple of these commercials from hello. Yeah.
Carson, you remember my voice, man.
You can go full screen with that. So, that's amazing. Where did he go? Oh my God, he left us.
Where'd he go?
You know, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for leaving it. Wow, look at that.
That is so awesome. I love your costume. It's awesome.
That is great. That is incredible.
Female Cobra officer right there.
Love it.
Tried to come mess with you.
That is so cool.
Oh, are you? Oh, perfect.
See, my wife's rad. I don't know.
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
I'm living the dream.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude.
Anyway,
good for you, brother.
Yeah, definitely.
Where were we? Somehow I lost all concentration.
Right.
Good stuff, man.
Sorry.
What were we talking about? I totally forgot.
Ninjas and shit. I don't know.
I'm not kidding. I lost my train of thought entirely.
That was quite a surprise. I mean,
I was just thinking, like, Chad has like all the willpower in the world to just sit here on YouTube with me and you. So, good job, buddy. Anyway, I think we were talking. I know what we were talking about. So if you get in there and you start watching the 1992 or 93 linear live action commercials, we are still missing a couple episodes. And so if anybody that's out there can help us fill in the gaps, please do. You know what I mean? Point us to the right assets.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get them up there. There's still a few missing chapters that we know exist that we haven't been able to find masters for. Philip Donnelly's one of my good friends, managed the Yojo video stuff for many, many years. He's very focused on video too. And he's got a laundry list of commercials that he knows exist, but we haven't been able to find them yet. And so, yeah, anybody out there, if you see stuff that we don't have yet, please share.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
and
very cool.
Zazel, everybody else, at Joe Fest, you'll all be able to meet my wife in person too. So
nice.
Quite cool.
Nice.
Anyway, so enough about that. So Dale says Night Creeper uses a crossbow. Some of them having a bow and arrow with fit. So, cool.
I think he meant would fit.
Would fit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Probably.
Okay. Next up. Yeah, you already told me you were going to give me a kiss, so that's going to happen. Scuba Pete, I think Pete met my wife. I know Carson met my wife. Okay, anywho, we're moving on. Here we go. Yes, I have a rad wife. Thank you all very much. And 3, 2, 1, go. Battle Corps, 1983, Colonel Courage. Yep. Carson, why don't you go ahead and take the lead on this guy?
So Dan Klingensmith actually shared a pre-production piece of presentation art of Colonel Courage today, and I thought he.
Did you see my comment?
No, I didn't. What'd you say?
I said Colonel Courage may or may not make an appearance.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Tonight.
I did see that. And I gotta say, like that was a piece of presentation art that made me like the character more. You know what I mean? Yep. And it's not that I didn't like him to start with. I do like him, but that like kind of gristly, and he's got his head down. He's kind of looking up at you. You know, it's a cool illustration of him. I really dug it. I like Colonel Courage. By 1993 Battle Corps, I'm not a huge fan of lime green, and there's a lot of lime green on those weapons, but I'll say strip away those weapons, give him some blacker, more traditional weapons, and the lime green accents on the body don't bother me at all. I think he's a really cool sculpt. I'll say the only thing that's unfortunate about Colonel Courage, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was only available for 1 year. They didn't put him back on the shelves in 94. He came out in 93 and he was not available in 94. So it's kind of a shame. I don't think he got enough exposure as a result of that. You know what I mean? He came out in a year where we had too many figures, let's be honest. And he was only available for 1 year. So I just feel like he missed, the opportunity to have some spotlight, which is kind of unfortunate.
I have two things real quick. One, correct you if you're wrong. Nobody's going to correct you, my man. And two, here it is right there. Christopher. I didn't know they made this one. It looks cool. So there
he is a cool figure. He's a very cool figure.
Oh yeah.
Every episode somebody says that.
Yep.
He is he's traditionally liked figure.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
you don't really hear people talk trash about Colonel Courage, man. He's a good traditional looking military figure design.
And even the pops of neon green, like you were talking about, 82 Joe's had some light green pockets here and there. So I don't want to hear that. Yeah. I don't want to hear that shit.
And Steeler had gold, little pops of Steeler had a gold band and like gold on his pistol, So there was touches of color early on. I don't think this is an egregious neon figure at all. It's just the lime green accessories. Like when you look at that package, you're like, oh my God, look at all that lime green. But really take the accessory tree away and he's legit.
I mean, but by 1993, pretty much every figure that came out had like some kind of neon colored accessory,
Truth.
Yeah. So.
Even like 94, when you look at Stalker, he's like all dark, but then he has yellow grenades. It's like you literally couldn't have
you. It's like in there.
Same thing with the Lifeline figure from 1994. He's got like yellow accessories, a yellow briefcase, and
Yep.
So real quick, I have to thank Zazel for this comment, and I have to echo that as well. Please hit the like button. And I look at my metrics, and 40% of the people who watch our stuff are not subscribed. So I would appreciate somebody changing that.
Mm-hmm.
But
For sure.
anyway,
Yeah.
so let me go on to the figure. So there he is.
Oh, nice shots there.
I got several. Hey, those are all courtesy of Carson right there. So,
Thanks, guys.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
appreciate it.
I'm
I
just
had
glad
fun
I could
with these,
finally
man.
like see everything on the screen.
You know, this is the first time I got to play with this guy. So like me looking at these photos actually takes me back to some pretty good memories, you know what I mean? Because I was razoring these packages open and breaking open all those weapons trees and trying to create a unique pose with each and every accessory. So the early 90s weapons trees, probably one of the reasons that I resent them as well is because there were so many more weapons that came with the weapons trees, guys. And so I had to create 360 spins of these guys with all these different weapons. And so it literally, it was just way more laborious. And I think I got resentful for that reason, but it was a lot of fun getting to learn these figures as I was doing that. It never felt like a chore.
Yeah.
Man, that's so awesome. Hey, I need to ask you something, and this is kind of offline. Did you set your 3D Joe's Toys R Us back up?
Yeah, it's downstairs. I got it. Yep. Yep. So I bought I sold my house in Raleigh. I bought a house in Rochester. I'm up there like a quarter of the time, but I lived up there for 4 months, and I was like, the Toys R Us vertical metal, big heavyweight bars that are like the backbone, the spine of that display, they were, I think they're 8 feet tall, and the ceilings in the basement up there were 7.5 feet tall. It was like just too short to set it up. So literally all my toys stayed in these giant tubs, like a full room full of tubs for like 4 months. And then when I got the house down here in North Carolina, immediately, like I literally closed on it. And the next week my builder was here finishing out the basement and me and my dad set up the Toys R Us like the next weekend. So yeah, it's ready to roll. It's ready to roll.
That's awesome.
Very
yeah,
cool.
man. I thought about streaming from down there tonight, but I don't know how good the internet service is. But I think that would be cool to like do some of these live streams from the Toys R Us.
Yeah, that'd be totally.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to see that actually.
Because then I could grab my figures off the shelf. I've got all my loose figures like hanging in whatever those clamshell cases are, and I've got all my file cards and all that stuff accessible.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
very rad, very rad. Well, the Army's going to PCS me soon, so this room's about to get torn down.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh no! Seriously?
I'm packing it all up.
You have such a nice display, man.
It's all right, man. I'm gonna have a bigger, better one. Don't worry about it.
There you go.
That's awesome. There you go. That's the spirit.
That's the thing about fighting positions, right? So taking it back to the Army and what they teach us there is like, so you establish your fighting position and then you improve on your fighting position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, Colonel Courage. What else we got for this fine gentleman with his tie tucked in, which I think is a rad feature.
I dig him, man. I dig him. He's a professional soldier.
Yeah.
He's ready to roll.
Yeah.
Also, the name is just pretty awesome, right? Colonel.
Yeah,
Courage.
yeah. Then it's a good name.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a good name.
He just made a kick ass,
Did he ever get love in the comic book? Do you guys remember ever seeing him?
No.
I was the one that watched the cartoons. I wasn't really into the comic books at that time, so I couldn't really tell you about the comic book.
The cartoon was already gone by this point, right? So this was 93.
Yep.
I think Deke was the mini series was 89. Operation Drag
89 to 92, I think.
And then 90 was the main season. Because remember seeing like the avalanche and the hurricane and all that featured so prominently in the general. And then 91, I think, was season 2. So I think it was done before 92. Definitely was gone by 93. So
yeah.
So real quick, I'm gonna sidetrack here. So Dale said his wife is a good female Cobra Viper, like the Vipers that are in the Baroness as her elite guard. That costume that my wife was putting on, it just came in the mail today, so I still have to put all the stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool.
All right. So Carson, I put this next figure in because I love the throwback and I wanted you to share your expertise with us on
Sonic Fighters Falcon. No.
You know what? It would have done Sonic Fighters Falcon, but we did that figure specifically for Jay Bartlett on episode 3.
I got you. I got
almost
you.
put him
That's
in here
right.
for you.
That's right. We
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 1994 30th anniversary Action Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of people don't know about the 30th anniversary, Action Soldier, Action Sailor, Action Marine, so on and so forth.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal. So, you had
3 3/4 versions.
You had Kirk Bazigian as vice president of Boys Toys at this time. Vinny DeLevia was still brand manager in charge of the brand. And Kirk Bazigian had a lot of reverence for the early the 1964 and up 12-inch GI Joes, the traditional military guys. If you go to Kirk's house, he's got model kits of old jets and tanks and like real soldiers in his basement. He loves the military and he loves that history. And so, in my opinion, this was Kirk Bazigian's love letter to 1964. It was the 30th anniversary of it, and he wanted to celebrate it in grand fashion. 3 3/4 was what made G.I. Joe successful for 13 years at that point. These figures had not been made in that scale yet. And so I think this was a beautiful love letter to 1964 in 3 3/4 form. They also did the space capsule and the astronaut, and the convention mail order was the all black kind of parachute guy. What was that? What was the name of the all black paratrooper? Do you guys know, from 1994? Convention exclusive, very hard to get figure. I'll look it up really quick. So the G.I. Joe convention exclusive was just called the Fighter Pilot. But I think that's an amazing figure. It's got that red, white, and blue stripes all the way down the leg with the G.I. Joe logo. And then other than that, he's pretty much all in black, and he's got the logo on the forearm as well. That's an awesome figure. And they even tied it into real life paratroopers that they sent around the country, real life parachute people, whatever you want to call it. Chad, what's the right terminology for that? Skydivers, but not really.
Airborne, parachutist, airborne.
Yeah. So they I don't think they were like real military, but basically they put on a traveling show of G.I. Joe branded parachutists, skydivers, whatever you want to call them, that would wear the G.I. Joe logos that look like this Action Pilot convention exclusive. In addition to that, they put on the 30th anniversary at the Nimitz class aircraft carrier right off New York, right off of Manhattan, and they had a huge 30th anniversary convention that year. So G.I. Joe, a lot of people, I don't think, realize the only reason G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, died and G.I. Joe Extreme replaced it was political. They had acquired the Kenner folks from Cincinnati. The brand team that had made G.I. Joe for 13 years and made it very successful was based in Pawtucket in Rhode Island. They acquired Kenner a couple years earlier, and political infighting, backstabbing, whatever you want to call it. Read the book Toy Wars. They'll tell the story better than I did. This was a political hit. You know what I mean? They decided to take away G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, from the creative team in Pawtucket, and they gave it to the former Kenner team in Cincinnati. And those are the folks that brought you G.I. Joe Extreme. So G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero. So G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero was alive and well in 1994. And this and all the rest of the 30th anniversary stuff that they did, like I just mentioned, the skydivers and the convention on the aircraft carrier, they blew it out for 1994. I think they did a great job with it. So Action Soldier, I think, is an awesome figure. I really like his accessories. I love his little bunker setup. I like the bullet holes on the walls there. Like, you see how it's been shot up a little bit, the sandbags. I think they're great. I love these figures. I think they're a really cool love letter to 1964.
And even just to touch on what you mentioned, so even Kirk Bazigian mentions it in the Toys That Made Us episode about G.I. Joe, where he went from running a Real American Hero to being in charge of Play-Doh, like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a change there,
just,
you know?
Yep.
You
know, and his whole team away from him.
And it wasn't uncommon that they would make, decisions like that, manpower decisions, where they take someone off of this and put them on this. Kirk was the brand manager from 1982 to around 1985, 86. Yeah. And then they put him on Play School Baby, I think. And he also helped set up the Hasbro Direct mail order stuff that became very successful. And then he became, he moved up and became vice president of Boys Toys. And that's where he got to supervise G.I. Joe again. And at that point, Vinny DeLevia was the brand manager. So it's not uncommon, in corporate America that people are moved around where they want them to be, same as the military, right? They'll tell you where they want you. But it doesn't mean that the powers that be that are making those decisions are always making the right decision. And I think that is borne out when you look at what the product offerings were for 95, 96.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank Phil for coming, and hope you enjoy the rest on replay. So thanks, Phil. And then Josiah says Sergeant Savage had potential too. I've got a good amount of Sergeant Savage stuff. Yeah,
I collected it. I like it. Yeah. I dig it. That was very much another one that was, aborted early. It didn't. I don't think it had a full chance. It got a cartoon.
It only had like a year, right?
I think that's right. Yep.
Yeah, just one year.
And some of that Sergeant Savage stuff was actually planned for the 3 3/4 G.I. Joe Real American Hero line. So that tank was initially, it had different internal tooling, and it was made for 3 3/4, and they retooled it, the interior, to fit the Sergeant Savage figure instead. So
I wish we got that. I
did not know that. That's pretty cool.
I wish we got that third version of the Killer Whale.
Yes.
Never happened.
Yes. That was going to be Battle Corps Rangers. So they were going, they wanted one subline that was going to be more traditional military. And so Battle Corps Rangers was what they were going to do for that.
Awesome. There's my cat.
Nice. What up, kitty?
That's
James,
easy.
Do you have anything
wanted to be in the show?
Cool. James, you got anything for the 30th anniversary Action Soldier 94?
Yeah, I think they look really, really cool. I think they did a good job with it. I personally love the packaging. That they're put in. I have a couple myself. For this guy, I do like the bunker. I think it looks awesome. And his accessories are really, really cool. The backpack's a little oversized in my opinion, but whatever.
That's what they look like, buddy.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what they look like.
Yeah, well. Anyway, but he's a cool looking figure. I think they did a good job with making him look like the original 1960. I think 1964 figures or whatever from the 12-inch one. Yep. They did a pretty good job. I see that they're still using the kind of like a baseball card size file card for that, but of course they really didn't even have to put a file card on there. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, so that tells you that these came out later in the cycle in 94, because the original 94 G.I. Joe 3 3/4-inch branded figures had that rectangular file card, the modified file card, and they rebranded them and switched to this brand with the vertical logo, right, instead of the horizontal logo,
right?
And that's when they changed to this baseball card, more squared off, less rectangular look. So these must have come out later in the year.
And then you see that vertical G.I. Joe carried over in like Star Brigade and stuff too.
Yep, that's right.
That's right, buddy. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to our next guy, shall we? And this is one of James's picks, I believe, and that is going to be 1990 Metalhead version 1.
Actually, that's one of your picks, but
was that mine?
It's definitely one of my favorites too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but you made a cool painting of him.
I did. I actually just recently gave it away too, so I did like a sweepstakes thing, in my group. But anyway, yeah, he's probably my favorite villain out of the whole DIC series. When I was a kid, I remember being so enamored by him. I was so fascinated by him. The whole bang bang, it's just he was a really loud, boisterous kind of a villain, and that's kind of like how I am, so I can relate to him myself a little bit. But
yes, you are.
He's just super cool, He's got rocket launchers on his legs, and launchers on his rockets on his back, and now his helmet looks kind of stupid. But if you just take the helmet off, which I always leave the the helmet off of my figure. He just looks awesome. His pistol's really cool looking, and yeah.
I have to agree, man.
He's also one of the last Iron Grenadiers too. So it's one of the last few of those.
I have to agree, man. I think he is an awesome figure, geared to the teeth, weaponized to the teeth. I love the way that the backpack slides down and then slides up for action. Just really, really cool accessories. I will agree that the helmet is drastically oversized, but it's also
it really is.
He's got that big hair piece too, though, right? Like the hair is pretty voluminous there, and so I think when you make an O-ring GI Joe figure and you give him that much hair, and then you got to put a helmet on top of it, you're gonna get that Spaceballs effect, And so I agree. I think he could lose the helmet and be better for it. But such a cool figure, man. Really cool accessories. I remember enjoying him. This was the last year I was collecting as a kid. And I definitely watched the cartoon, and he wouldn't just do the bang, bang, but he would have that laugh too, like this maniacal, crazy laugh. So he was a memorable guy.
Yeah, very cool. And then that's the 2015 JoeCon version on the far right.
I love the little target. Wasn't that sculpted into his goggles as well?
Yes,
I think it was.
Yeah, it's kind of like etched. It's etched in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good touch. Nice details.
Yeah.
Very cool. There you go. Metalhead, Iron Grenadiers. If anybody in the chat wants to chime in on Metalhead here, please do. And then
now these
I like the card art too.
Yeah, the card art's great. This is a great piece of art. These didn't feature the finger flick technology, did they? You couldn't thump those out of there, right? There was
I don't know. No.
Okay, that's the only thing that could have made him more fun, I think, because Frank Coroneros. This was 1990. Frank Coroneros pioneered finger flick technology in 1990 for the hammer, right? So if you've got that hammer, you can flick them out of there. So it would have been cool, and I think salvo, you can flick them out of salvos, right? So I think I remember as a kid, and remember salvo came out the same year he did. So I think I remember as a kid being like, I wish I could thump those little rockets out of Metalhead,
Yeah.
Anyway, just childhood memories. It's an awesome figure.
Oh yeah. One thing I do got to say is I don't like how easily the leg pegs snap and break off on those.
Yeah.
I've been through so many different Metalheads. It's not even funny. I mean, I've probably just to get the legs. I've been through so many different figures. And
same with Night Viper.
That you see, they're just broken.
Night Viper, Rock and Roll version 2, it's an issue.
Yep.
And that Cutter version 3, he's got that weapon peg on his leg too.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so there's Metalhead Iron Grenadiers version 1, 1990. He's a good character. I really like him. So.
Oh yeah.
Definitely now I see 10. Why. Yeah. Now I see why I added him. Because I have good taste. And then Pendragon Studios joins us and says, "Holy cow, it's Chad and Carson in the same YouTube box." Yeah, that is correct. That is correct, my friend.
Indeed.
And Carson,
love hanging out.
I can't thank you again for joining us, man.
It's my pleasure, man. I don't think I've done one of these.
This has been awesome. So
my pleasure, guys. For real. I got burned out on YouTube during Operation Recall because I was like,
oh yeah,
I had to get the word out. Like that was my primary responsibility, was making sure everybody knew that could possibly know about Operation Recall. But I'm not gonna lie, like after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break from YouTube for a while. So this has been really nice, man, to just like catch up, hang out, talk toys, man. I've really enjoyed it. And awesome. Chad, it was awesome meeting you at Joe Fest and everything, putting a face to the name, and meeting you and your wife and everything. So it's always
very
cool,
rad getting to hang out. In fact, your picture in the thumbnail for tonight's show is actually the picture of you and me.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just took me out of it.
Put yourself back in there, man.
No, it's all about you tonight.
It's the best thing about this hobby, though, is all the awesome people you get to meet, man. I've made a lot of really good friendships. My buddy Joe, that I met back in 2008, I bought a Cobra Commander 12-inch sideshow figure from him on eBay. And
nice.
we figured out, I'm in Raleigh, you're in Durham. It's like 15 minutes away. It was like, let's meet up. And like, we're literally like best friends. Like this dude and I, we go to all the conventions together. We hang out. He came down for a couple days and helped me work on Operation Recall the last couple days. Like the friends you can make in this hobby are more important than any other aspect of this hobby. Like if you have an open heart and you're open to new friendships, you'll make some amazing friends through the hobby. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'd have to agree. I've made loads of friends through this hobby.
You got me, man.
And you know, as you get older, that gets harder, man. Like it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like I work
I know,
myself, you know, so that's important, man.
Yeah, it really is.
Pendragon asks, where's the Cobra Commander? Dude, you missed it. You got to go back like 15. That's my wife, Cobra Commander.
Commander.
Pendragon, you got to go back like 20 minutes, man. She walked in here in her Cobra officer outfit.
Dude, she sucked the wind out of the room. Everybody was just like jaws dropped, like, oh.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I forgot what I was talking about. I think we all forgot what we were all talking
Everybody
about.
got stopped in the track. It literally took us like 3 minutes to get back on track.
It really did, yeah.
My wife's hot. Yes, thank you very much.
That's awesome. Good job.
Before we move on, James, you know I'm a big fan of story time, right? So
yes,
Joe Fest this year, walking around. Yes, I know my name is Chad, right? But I'm not that extra Giga Chad guy, right? I'm really kind of unassuming in person, and I'm just walking around. And one of the first things that I wanted to do was go find Carson. And so my wife and I are walking around, and Carson was busy as shit on Saturday. But on Friday, he's just standing there chilling. And I walked up to him, and I just start talking to him, right? I just start talking to Carson. You know, it's Carson Mataxis, 3D Joe's. We're just talking about this, that. He hands me the book, you know, and I hold this omnibus, you know, and then we're just kind of talking. And then Carson just randomly says, I didn't know you had that many tattoos. And I was like, me? Like, do you know who I am? He's like, yeah, dude, I know. He like, and then we just started talking. I was like, oh, that was actually really cool. So yeah, Carson, totally genuine dude.
Right on.
Nice.
It was actually. I hope to meet you someday in person. You know. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, man. So I definitely do Joe Fest every year. I'm going to Assembly Required this year too, so that'll be my second Joe show for the year.
Cool. Nice.
So, I was gonna come. I was gonna try to come. I know you and I had talked about that, but I was like, I can't. The Army's got me nuts right now. So.
I understand, man. Appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate what you're doing too.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I'm just in it for the violence and the retirement point, so it's all good. Anyway, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to our last figure of the night. This is one of
my picks.
Yes, this is one of James's.
Yeah.
And ready, Carson?
Oh,
there it is. Oh man. Should I start?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. See, I actually put him in here for a little bit of comedy. He's Armor Tech. I cannot stand the entire line of the whole subset. I just cannot stand it. You know, the over, sized bodies and everything. It just doesn't really work. You know, the unarticulated bodies and all that stuff. But this guy especially, I mean, they did him like a disservice. You know, like the original Heavy Duty was just a badass. You know, with badass accessories. And then what they did to him was they butchered him up, and they turned him into this. I mean, this is what you get in 1993, But
where is his left arm? Did he lose part of his left arm? Is it folded up?
I believe it's all like one launcher. It's just all one launcher now. Yeah, they totally just removed his arm.
It's just this. I agree with you 100%. The body structure of these guys look like. Are you familiar with the Inhumanoids line? Have you ever seen the Inhumanoids figures? I like the bad guys in Inhumanoids. It was incredibly creative, really cool villains.
And they're gorgeous sculpts. Yeah.
They are cool toys. The bad guys are cool toys.
Definitely.
But you look at the good guys and they got these tiny little heads and these big bodies, these long limbs, and it's not human anatomy proportions. And you just look at it and you're like, there's not a human inside that design, right?
What the hell,
Yeah, so I look at these, Armor Tech guys, and I'm like, there's not a human inside that design. it's not proportioned right. You know,
No.
in addition to just where the hell did his left arm go, you know, looking at the shoulders, where they come out to, how long the arms go, where the legs are, it just doesn't proportionately fit. And so it's just, I don't know, man. I think this is one of those instances where an outside inventor came in with a toy concept, like this happened with Manimals, and they would show something and Hasbro would buy it, and they would, you know, slap a G.I. Joe name on it, put some G.I. Joe recognizable head sculpts on it, some G.I. Joe names on it, and just try to sell it. And this doesn't fit with the line at all.
No, it doesn't.
The chat is just destroying this.
Yeah.
So like Pendragon says, what is that monstrosity? And Wilhelm says that helmet though. And then Drew G says it looks like G2 Megatron took his head off to reveal heavy duty. And then Pendragon says,
I knew this would be a great choice.
And the funny thing is, in episode 3, we discussed version 1 heavy duty, 1991, right?
Or 90.
1991, yes. Yep.
Okay.
And he has like, you know, the beautiful tears in the sleeve, and he has the raised G.I. Joe on his backwards turned hat, so his visor, his targeting visor can come down. Such a great sculpted figure. And then you get this.
You get this. Yeah.
So we're expanding. We're expanding on our stories, on our storytelling. We're expanding on that. So, yeah, there it is.
And you know, I struggled with these. I really struggled with these.
What's with the helmet too?
I struggled to put them in compelling poses. You know, they're not as posable as the other figures. They've got T-crotches. Everybody knows what a T-crotch is, right? There's not swivel ball joint hips. So you can't do anything interesting with the legs. You literally can bend it and fold it at the knee, and that's it. So yeah, these really suffer. These are terrible. You know, they don't have ball joint shoulders either, right?
My Brad Turner arms here is the better figure.
Yep. These are.
I just can't believe. I mean, the total drastic change here. I just can't believe it.
I think the only armor tech I give a pass is Armor Tech General Hawk that came with the armor bot. If you just sit him in that thing, it kind of looks like, okay, maybe that's the driver's suit, fine. But these guys just floating around in space with these little T crotches and lack of ball joints and missing left arms, so they could have a spring-loaded launcher. I just can't get down with it, man.
Can't do it.
And then Drugy says Centurion, what? G.I. Joe?
Yeah, that's totally a Centurion's helmet.
Centurions,
yeah.
They were still way cooler.
Yeah. You know, the head sculpt, is that the same head sculpt? He doesn't have the backwards hat, does he? Well, let's go look at the 360 view.
No, he just has like the bandana thing.
Okay, it's a pretty cool head sculpt. Yeah. I'll give it that one positive. That head sculpt.
It's almost the exact same head sculpt.
Yeah,
just kind of minus this and the color's different.
They took the bill off the hat, sanded down the Joe letters, and called it a day.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're like, just take the mold and put some gum down in there, and then just remold that head.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody have anything else for this guy?
I'll give it half a star for a head sculpt.
Yeah, with these armor with these armor tech guys, they just put like a hole like in their fist, you know, and then I guess they retooled the accessories to so that they would fit in that hole, and so that's kind of, I don't know. There's really nothing about these guys that I really like. I never have.
It doesn't say G.I. Joe, you know, in terms of articulation, design, anatomy. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, when you just look at like visual acuity kind of stuff, like nothing about that says G.I. Joe.
Nothing. Nope.
Okay. Scuba Pete says Viking horn helmet. Yep. He's a space Viking. Space Viking G.I. Joe. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Right, so that would be the end of our figures, and now we're gonna get into some vehicles.
Sweet.
Sound like fun?
All right.
Okay.
Sounds like fun.
The first vehicle is my choice because it eludes me and it frustrates me because this is one of the things that was on my short list for Joe Fest this year, and I couldn't find it. I really want this vehicle. I want it even more now that I can't find it.
Of course. Ah,
yeah.
this thing is awesome. It feels a little unfinished in a couple places, but it's awesome. Like, this is the last great vehicle. The play feature where you roll it and the Gatling gun goes and it shoots this whole rack of missiles. To the unfinished point, there should be like a lid or something that closes on top of that missile rack to make that accessory feel like a more finished design. It feels like you shouldn't see how the sausage is made for that Gatling gun, but you do.
Yeah.
But the play feature of this thing's awesome. It's an APC. It carries a lot of guys. This thing's great, man.
Yeah. It's incredibly hard to find too, like for a good price. That's for sure.
Chad, I've
not been able to find it
for any price.
Buy it loose, man. Buy it loose, because if you get a boxed one, sometimes they're discolored. That white can get off.
I've been looking for it loose, my friend. Every example that I can find that I can either bid on or purchase, and oh god, it has Ice Cream Soldier in it. But any version that I can find of this is always either somewhat or grossly incomplete.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
they're
it's
usually
not
always
like
missing something.
Yeah, but it's not like my Night Raven. Like, I bought my Night Raven at like 80%, but you can find Night Raven parts like mad. But this thing, I want to find it loose, but I want to find it complete. Hey, loose but complete. Shout out to 3POA. And I just want to be done with it, but I cannot find it at all. And Pendragon, man, they are not snow cones. It's like sunsets with a palm tree. It's pretty much the same thing as our background. Anyway. But and then I got one more thing. Here we go. Wilhelm, Toy and Hobby. I was completely unaware of this. So that's 2 for this show alone. Which I think is rad. And that's why we do this show.
Oh yeah.
Drew G asks if it's an Arctic vehicle. Yes, because the driver's name is Windchill.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah,
it's Arctic.
Yeah. So Windchill had previously been released with another Arctic vehicle. So absolutely an Arctic vehicle.
Yeah. And then
the Arctic Blast, as a matter of fact, right?
Arctic Blast.
Yeah.
Scuba says new to me. There you go.
That figure's fantastic, by the way. You mean that figure right there?
Yeah,
that Windchill figure is a fantastic sculpt. He also happens to be, I believe, the last, if not the last, one of the last few sculpts that master sculptor Bill Merkline did for Hasbro.
Oh wow.
So yeah, Bill Merkline started, his first figure was Recondo. He sculpted 70 figures from 1983 to 1989. And I think Windchill was one of the last ones. And it is a brilliant sculpt. This one suffers from a lack of paint apps. He really could have used a couple more colors to bring the different sculpt details out, but it's an amazing figure.
Yeah. For sure.
Pendragon's in there just talking all this shit. He says,
nice.
Windchill. And I corrected it, and then he was like, yeah, I know. Lol. Anyway, so hey, everyone in the chat, these images are courtesy of 3djoes.com. You might know the guy who runs that site. And Carson, I have to tell you, man, I always pointed out when we use your images, courtesy of you, with your permission.
Appreciate it.
I think it's awesome that you always redo the box art with the figures in the vehicle or on the playset. I think that is just amazing.
I mean, that was the fun of it.
Recreate it.
That was the fun of it. I did the same thing with the figures on the figure pages. Usually at the top, it's a recreation of their card art. I try to get them as close to those poses as possible. Because I wanted to bring the box art to life with the spins. I would also do photographs and spins with it stripped down and none of that stuff on there. Yeah. But I definitely wanted to recreate the package art. Look, man, if this wasn't fun for me, I wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? So that was fun for me. It's just an excuse to play with my toys, man.
Exactly. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is a completely new mold where it's all new molds where we haven't seen any of these parts before, like the Gatling guns and the tires and the different pieces and parts. Maybe the guns on the side could have been from something else, but I don't think so. So for 1994, for this to be the last year of A Real American Hero, and for this thing to be all new, all original, like this was the last hurrah for vehicles.
Yeah,
the side guns are close to, but not the same as the Monster Blaster APC, which I had to just look. So they are not the same.
Because, you know, if you think of the other 94 vehicles, they're not as amazing as this one. You know what I mean? The Razor Blade, the Razor Blade helicopter, the little raft thing, you know.
Yeah.
The Scorpion's not bad, but it's not as good as this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
So this was the last.
They didn't have a whole lot of vehicles for this year.
No, 94 was
sparse.
sparse. 94 was sparse, man.
Yeah.
I mean, here it is: the Blockbuster, the Cobra Scorpion, the Manta Ray, the Razor Blade, and then you had those 2 Star Brigade Power Fighters, which are Oh, I'm not going to be mean. I'll leave that alone. I've said enough negative stuff. Look, I'll just say I'm a fan of Exo Squad, and it was a pale imitation of Exo Squad. Okay.
Yeah. Love Exo Squad. I'm a big fan myself.
That's another passion that you and I both share.
Yes, sir. Exo Squad is quality, man. Thank you, Wilhelm. I appreciate you saying that, brother.
Same thing.
Exo Squad is quality, man. Like when you move the elbow joints, a lot of them have ratcheting where it's like tick, 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 you know, and it's like they're all robot E-frames that these little figures go inside of. The figures were pretty cartoony. They looked like the cartoon, and they're not like as kind of realistic as G.I. Joe sculpts. So, you know, I don't incredibly, like, I don't love Exo Squad figures, but what I do think is notable about Exo Squad figures is they have almost, if not the same, they have almost the same articulation as G.I. Joes at a smaller scale. So that's impressive, but they're kind of cartoony. The E-frames, though, and the vehicles for Exo Squad are amazing. And so the fact that Hasbro was looking at what they were doing and tried to parrot it, and came out with these power frames or whatever they're called, they paled in comparison. As someone that was buying Exo Squad back then, because like I said, I got out of G.I. Joe's in 1990. I saw the Exo Squad cartoon on TV, and it's serial and it's mature. It was great. It was great. It got me back in toy aisles for one wave. I got the first 4 Exo Squad E-frames as a kid. I would think I was like 14 at the time. And so I had a lot of love. I had a lot of love for those. So then as I'm building 3D Joes and I'm buying all this 90s stuff that I never had before and I'm getting to learn it, I looked at these power fighters and was like, this is not Exo Squad. What are they doing? You know?
No, sir.
Yeah, Exo Squad's quality, man. It, like Alec De Leon has a Gatling gun on his arm, and when you turn the Gatling gun, it goes, you know, like it has that ratcheting sound to it. Like it's just quality. Man. If you guys haven't checked out Exo Squad, check out Exo Squad.
Yes, please do. Here's a quick question from Christopher, and he asks, what do they do with old modes of G.I. Joe figures? I know, like, a lot of them were destroyed. Some of them went to fun school, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. They went all over the world, from South America to, so you guys know many of the brands. I'm sure you've heard of many of the brands that reproduce G.I. Joe molds. So basically they went from South America. There was at least 3 different toy companies in 3 different countries that were making their own figures from, so it's Commandos de Acal, and I think Estrella was one of the countries. I'm not the biggest international collector. I try to not allow myself to go there because I'm an obsessive collector. And if I start doing international, I probably won't have this house. I won't have this house anymore. But so, yes, so all the way other side of the world, Japan, we had Takara, which did a couple years. I think that was 86, 87. And they released a ton of figures, the most notable one being Zartan on a single card, which is awesome because we didn't get them on a single card. They released them in Korea. They released them in Russia. They released them in India. They released them freaking everywhere, man. G.I. Joe was all over Europe as Action Force, and then G.I. Joe when Hasbro eventually bought Palitoy and changed it from Action Force to G.I. Joe. So they basically, these molds got used up by the United States for 2 years. Early on, there was actually some figures that were on shelves for 3 or 4 years, right? If you think about Cobra Soldier, he was sold all the way to 1985, so that's 82, 83, 84, 85. But for the most part, early G.I. Joes, we can say they were on shelves for 2 years, right? If somebody came out in 86, they would also come out in 87, and then they were gone. They didn't throw those molds away. They immediately sent them to Europe. And then they were re-released as Action Force. So if you look at a figure that came out in 1989 in the United States, it would also be made and come out in 1990 in the United States, and then it would come out in 1991 in Europe, right? So they just sent these molds around the world, and unfortunately, a lot of them never came back. So if you look at like Star Brigade, when they were going to make Payload version 3, remember that? They showed them in Toy Fair using the original Payload mold with the great helmet. This was a really beautiful sculpt. And then by the time it came to actually make that Star Brigade figure, they had to use the barbecue sculpt instead because they never tracked down the Payload mold. And what I think happened was that the Crusader, which was sold with Payload version 2, had made its way down to South America, been reproduced for them, and the mold didn't come back. Right. So these things were incredibly expensive to cut. They still are incredibly expensive to cut molds out of metal. There's some cheaper metal options that you can use, but those don't hold up as well after hundreds of thousands of prints like these guys are making. So anyway, long story short, molds went around the world. They made toys all over the world using the exact same molds that we used in the United States for a couple years. Most of them didn't come back. And unfortunately, Daryl DePriest, who was vice president of Boys Toys, worked for Hasbro for nearly 20 years. He confirmed that they got rid of a lot of the molds that were existing. And he said back in the day, this is probably 7-8 years ago, that O-ring was done. The O-ring hardware, all the tooling, everything was done. We were not going to see it again. And he was adamant about that. He was like, we're not going backwards. We're 4-inch, we're modern, we're highly articulate. We're not going back to O-ring. And they got rid of those molds, at least by that point. So, corporate America, leadership changes and decisions change. And so now we've got some new O-rings again. But I do know that those are all new molds, right? The new Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Duke and Cobra Commander, the Cobra Officer, Cobra Trooper, those are new molds.
Yeah.
So that's not the old stuff.
Very cool. And then I start a question that I'm going to come back around to later at the end of the show because it's related to Operation Recall, and I was going to kind of touch on that. So. Cool. All right. So
awesome.
1994 Battle Corps Blockbuster with wind chill figure.
Awesome vehicle. Awesome figure.
I will get one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
At some point, I will get one.
You got to get his skis from the Arctic Blast 2, though, because to me, Wind Chill is incomplete without those skis that have the machine guns on the skis with the little magazine sticking up. I love those skis, man.
Yep.
Fair enough.
They're awesome.
I'll hunt those down. All right. So, moving on.
Cobra Piranha.
That's all you.
1990. Yep.
Friend. Go ahead.
Yeah. Funny enough, in the 90s, Cobra didn't have a very big arsenal of like boats and ships compared to like G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe had like the Shark 9000 and stuff like that. I mean, but for Cobra, it was really lacking, and the Cobra Piranha was really pretty much the last thrust of like something awesome that they came out with for a boat, like a speedboat type thing. And it actually matches with the what's it called?
The Moray.
Yes, came out in 1985.
The logo on the side is the Moray logo.
Good catch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right there.
It's just a really cool like vehicle. I mean, it has like mines that you can drop down. I'm not really too keen on the yellow parts, but everything else about it is just really, really cool.
Yeah. Cool. This is a great boat. I'll jump in. This is awesome. I do love that it syncs up with the Moray pretty well, both through the stickers that are reminiscent and the color of the hull. And it's just an awesome looking speedboat, man. Like, I loved the Devilfish as a kid in '86. I was 7 years old. I got my Devilfish. I loved it. I played with it all the time. If I was a 7-year-old when this came out, I would have loved this just as much, if not more. I love that kind of turbo jet on the back, like reminiscent of the Thunder Machine. This just looks like it would just haul. This thing would just be amazing. And it's geared to the teeth. It's got 2 torpedoes underneath, 2 missiles on the sides, machine guns on the top, mines on the side. This thing's ready to roll, man. Yeah. Missiles up top.
I like how it juts up too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the spoiler, the big fin. Yeah, this is a cool design.
The whole boat kind of juts up a little bit.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's got the missiles on the bottom and it's got the guns on the top, so you can see how it plays into different features of everything: the Moray, the Devilfish, et cetera, et cetera. There's another Cobra smaller price point watercraft that
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You're not the sea sled or whatever the heck that thing is.
No.
Don't pull that out.
Something else. Something else that we might be talking about later. But yeah.
All right.
There's a Cobra Piranha with the depth charge.
Yeah, this is a great vehicle, man. I like
Great
it.
box art too.
I will say
art,
this came really close to being re-released as a G.I. Joe vehicle. So
yes,
really?
there's a
That's
piece of box art painted by Doug Hart that has this vehicle as well as the Barracuda re-released in darker color palettes, no more yellow, accent colors, along with Shipwreck and Deep Six and the Dolphin that Deep Six came with. Right. It's a really cool piece of box art. I guess it was going to be one of those 2 figure sets that they were trying to sell as a store exclusive, like the Dino Hunters or something. But it was unsuccessful. They weren't able to sell it through, and so we never got it. But I think this would have been in all black, if I'm not mistaken. And they showed Shipwreck driving it. We did end up getting that Shipwreck as Shipwreck version 2 in 1994. But if you look at that box art, the Shipwreck design is not entirely polished yet. So I believe that box art was created before Shipwreck 1994 was completely like finished as a design. So I think it was for 92 or 93. And that would also back up the fact that we ended up getting that Deep Six as a mail order figure in 93. So it's like you got these figures in development, that same exact Deep Six color deco on this painting. This thing didn't come out. So, all right, well, we've already got him tooled up. He's already ready to go. Okay, we'll just make him a mail order figure. Oh, Shipwreck. Okay, let's hold off on him and let's sell him as a single carded figure next year. So I believe other people will debate this with me, and there's a lot of other knowledgeable Joe fans out there, and so I love getting into these debates. But in my opinion, that piece of box art was created probably in 92, trying to sell it for 93. So would have been cool to get this in black, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I love to just listen to you talk G.I. Joe.
Oh, thanks, man.
It doesn't matter what.
I just like to listen to him,
I'm obsessed with it, obviously.
I just like to.
I appreciate it, guys.
To sit down and listen.
I wouldn't know any of this if I didn't talk to other folks about it too. You know what I mean? So and just observation, like digging up assets and really critically thinking about it. So
I was on a show on Wednesday and it was like, oh yeah, well we're bringing Articulated Chat on because he's like a real American hero subject matter expert, and I was like, no, no, not me, man, not me. All right, cool. So
we've all got more to learn. That's what makes the hobby so fun. There's always new angles, new areas to explore. The guys of Joe Declassified that have been looking at this pre-production stuff for decades, and those guys are brilliant. I always learn something from them. There's a lot of folks out here to learn from. So
and that's it makes the hobby enjoyable all the time because it ties in a whole lifelong learning. Like I'm a big fan of lifelong learning.
That's right.
There's always new stuff to explore and learn about. And that's why I can't stand when you get these, these egotistical kind of, elitist type people. Like people get on a Facebook group and they ask a question that someone's asked that question 1,000 times, but this is the first time that this person's asking that question and they're new to the hobby and they're just curious, man. Like you don't have to treat them like a second-class citizen because they're asking a question that's been asked 1,000 times.
And it's
exactly
it's that bullshit. Like just go to the top and search it, man. It's like, well, we're supposed to be a community. Like
it's social
how
media.
Does it scream community? Yeah,
they want to be social.
And then it makes some people not want to ask questions anymore. It makes them not want to ask anything anymore because they're afraid that they're going to be, criticized.
Or it makes them leave the hobby. Like, wow, G.I. Joe fans are a bunch
of jerks. Exactly that. Yeah.
Out of here. You know what I mean?
That's not version 1 stalker. It's version 1.5 stalker.
Right.
Idiot.
Look at the swivel arm, idiot.
Give me a break.
So, I don't know. I just feel like, if you don't have anything nice to say, scroll on, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I have been trying more often than lately to just kind of subscribe to that. Like, I'm either going to compliment sandwich it, where I'll say something like, "Oh, well, they did a good job with this sculpt, but here's all the shit that I don't like or that they could have improved," and then I'll end it with like another positive. That's how I treat my soldiers, right? Compliment sandwich, or I'll just not say anything and I'll just let it walk right by because I don't, And I freaking hate Tiger Force, right? all three of us have discussed this to some length or another, but I know that to some collectors and adults who were kids when Tiger Force first came out, that was their first introduction to like the Tiger Rat. They didn't have the Rattler, you know.
It
so
wasn't.
like, Tiger Rat is like their version.
I can
And so
speak
I
from
wanna
my
share
heart. I can speak from my heart to that, and you're exactly right. Like I said, I started watching the cartoon in '84, but Mom wouldn't buy me it until '86. So that was my first chance to get a Rattler. That was
There you
my
go.
first chance to get Duke. It was my first chance to get Flint. You know what I mean? So while I would have preferred to have the originals, I was still happy to have those guys.
Yeah, totally. And real
Yeah.
quick, I want to say, what's up, Matthew Comstock? Thanks for coming, buddy.
What's up, brother?
Cool.
What's up,
All right,
man?
so let's move on to the next vehicle, and it's another one of mine.
This is Kirk's
yeah.
favorite. Kirk loves this thing.
Oh, it's so great.
That's an awesome vehicle.
It is.
Carson, let us have it.
I have not played with this enough. I will say that. I don't think I have powered it up to project the stuff on the walls like you can.
Yeah.
I need to spend more time with the Ghost Striker X16. I think it's a beautiful, brilliant jet design. I think the box art's awesome. I think the play features are cool. And Ace is a great figure. When people write off the 90s as like the neon 90s or whatever, and one of the figures I usually come back with as a rebuttal is you go look at this Ace figure and you go look at Shipwreck version 2 and tell me those aren't as good or better than a lot of your 80s figures. So the gold on his goggles right there, man, like he's just a beautiful figure. So I like the plane. I think if I was a younger kid that got this as a kid, this would have been my favorite toy, that you can throw the handle down and run around the house and project it on the walls and stuff. Like I just said, I haven't played with this enough. I should play with this more. I think if I was a kid when this came out, I would have loved it to the moon and back. But, you know, I was a 7-year-old in '86, and hence the X30 is my favorite jet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am a big fan of the X30. I'm a big fan of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, the Joe line did such a great job with iconic vehicles.
I'm not a fan of the Retaliator. Let's pick one air vehicle. Let's pick one air vehicle we don't like.
Okay, well, you just called it right there. So yeah,
that's actually one that I do like.
Really?
I love the Retaliator. Yeah.
To me, the little helicopter blades are not big enough for me to believe that could propel that vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, it's not really realistic. Yeah,
like
I
visually,
guess it's not. But
to
me, it just looks so cool. I mean,
Pendragon's hating on the pogo, the ballistic battle ball.
Okay,
I love the pogo, man.
I warmed up to it.
I love the re-release of the pogo when it was in Star Brigade.
Invader, Invader.
That's a movie.
Actually,
I totally could see that coming down and, you know, like
in our
90s on the moon.
In our 90s GI Joe group that James and I both administrate, we gave one away. Box, sealed.
That's right. That's right. We did.
That's one of the few follow-up vehicles that delivered better than the original. You know what I mean? The Star Brigade Invader is a better vehicle than the Pogo because conceptually it works better.
Yeah. So, the original Pogo, it's just supposed to be like bouncy, like it's kind of like a pogo stick, is why they kind of named it that. But with the Invader, they kind of remade it into like a little spacecraft, you know. And it's a more believable kind of a vehicle.
It just uses the spring legs for landing. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, it's taken off and it's out in space and it's just floating along. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Pendragon brings
cool
up
too. So
and then Pendragon brings up the Pogo from the comics where they had Larry Hama write it in. You know about this, right, Carson? Where they had him write it in and he wrote it in, and then it was like, no, this needs to go back to the drawing boards. And then you never saw it again.
Nice. They even did a commercial for that one, so you got to see how ridiculous it was in fully animated action. It's like the dumbest vehicle.
Yeah.
And both of mine are right behind me. But
yeah,
very cool. All right, so Ghost Striker, James, your turn. We were just kind of all going.
One vehicle that this is one vehicle that I never had when I was a kid. I always wanted it, but I just never got it for Christmas or my birthday or whatever. But whatever. I had a buddy of mine that actually did have it, so I got to play with it a little bit, and I love the projector thing that's on it. The feature that's on there, it's just really cool. You know, got to make sure you turn the lights off and everything to really see it. But yeah, and it takes a lot of batteries, I believe.
All the targeting.
One thing I didn't like about it is the nose cone comes off super easy. It's super easy to come off. So you just you have to be really careful with that nose cone. It's usually lost on a lot of them that you see on eBay. A lot of those are missing now because the kids, they just lose them.
That
Same
and the
with
tail.
What about the tail?
Yeah.
So when you find examples now, they're
always
they either missing the nose cone and the tail, or one or the other.
Yep, always.
Zazel, that's just battle damage.
Right. It's a shame when you have a really beautiful, industrial design, really cool design vehicle, and there's an engineering flaw that bites it like that. Like the Phantom X19 has the same issue with the nose cone, the little triangular cone that sits up front. And then the sliding canopy was like a cool concept, but it doesn't work that well. It gets derailed. And then the little guns that slide out, the little fins that the guns pop up, that doesn't work very well either. So it's a shame when some of the vehicle designers had a great concept and they just weren't fully able to implement it from an engineering standpoint.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're just trying to fit it like inside the box better. Maybe that's why they decided to go with that whole route of having like an extra part for the the front part of it. But
I think it's actually a materials.
I mean,
I think it's a materials and a safety issue, right? So I think they had to do drop tests and they had to make sure that things, number one, that you would drop it from a certain height and it wouldn't break or bust or whatever. So I'm sure a rubber nose helped with the impact there. But I'd be willing to bet that it's also a safety issue that you wouldn't be able to have that pointy of a hard plastic PVC or whatever,
Yeah.
All makes sense to me. Let's go.
That's hypothesizing. I don't know that for fact,
Nothing wrong with
as far as the figure. Ace, he's flawless. I mean, he's just an awesome figure.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about this at all. I mean, everything is. I mean, the only thing bad I could say about this really is just, like those two parts that are easily lost. That's about it. But everything else is just so cool about this vehicle. The figure too.
Yeah. It's a true great example of a G.I. Joe aircraft.
Yep.
Sarge says Ace is Ace. That is correct. Okay, cool. So we all gushed on the Ghost Striker X16, and now go ahead.
I will submit that this is a better figure design than 1983 Ace.
I will
I think I'd have to agree with
that.
Yeah. Sorry, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
Ron doesn't watch my shit. No, I completely agree. It's more fitting. It's more fitting than the pressurized flight suit that you would see with, say, like
a spaceship, a Defiant.
Yeah, a Night Raid.
Yeah.
1983 Ace to me looks like he belongs in the Defiant, and he'd look great in the Defiant. Right
he
next
should
to
be flying SR-71 or a U-2,
but definitely not in a jet.
Not an F-14 Tomcat. No way.
This
is an F-14 Tomcat flight suit. For sure. I dig it. And then Matthew Comstock is talking about that Airwolf helmet, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Man, Airwolf was awesome. I loved Airwolf. What was Jan Michael Vincent's character's name? Stringfellow Hawk, right? Yeah.
Got me.
Yeah. I want to say it's Stringfellow Hawk. And then once again, my good friend Zazel says, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and that we've earned it. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
One more. Pendragon says that's not Pendragon. The chat's moving. Everybody flying F-14 with your Tom Cruise shades on. Yeah, of course.
That's right, man.
Very, very cool. All right, cool. So we're gonna move on, and this one is James. Is that you or is that me?
No, that's all you, man. That one's
it's
all
me tonight. Whatever.
The next one's mine, though. Yeah.
The next one is yours. Yes. Okay. So
That's true. The razor blade. Yeah.
Battle Core 1993 Cobra Detonator with the soft foam firing rockets. That's actually in the commercial that's part of our intro. And again, that commercial is thanks to Carson at 3djoes.com,
right.
who we'd like to thank very
That's
much
right.
for being our special guest this evening. Thank you very much.
No
Carson.
doubt. No doubt. So I think this is one of those that was brought in by an inventor, the rocket firing mechanism, and they knew they wanted to use it. They just had to build a vehicle around it. I think that's how the story goes on this one. I think this vehicle's a really, really cool design, but I've had several of them break on me, which is a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that black tube that carries the air pressure from the handle around to the gun firing mechanism. See if I can see it on there. Yeah, you can see it coming right out of the side of that rocket right there.
Yeah, this right here.
Yeah, I've had that break the plastic. What the tube or the plastic, one or the other, there's too much like tension there, and I've had that break on multiples of these. And I think it's because the color blue, well, no, that's not it. Anyway, I don't know what the issue is, but I know I've had several of these break without me roughhousing them too much, like just by having them for a decade or so. So anyway, if you're in the market for this,
that's a shame.
Really cool looking vehicle, be sensitive with it, and maybe go ahead and unplug that tube from that launcher peg that it attaches to.
Yeah. You got to maintain that positive pressure, or it's just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Still a rad vehicle. Like,
have you guys fired one of these? Yeah. Have you fired one of these? How far will the rocket shoot?
I fired mine like 4 feet, 4 feet-ish.
4. Okay, just curious.
It goes about 4 to 6 feet, probably. Yeah.
It's all about your what's called super elevation, right? Because it's all about the plunging fire. But yeah, about 4 feet. I mean, even in that commercial,
I wasn't very. Yeah, I was disappointed.
You were disappointed in the vehicle, or just the limpness of the rocket fire?
No, just the rocket, just like how far the rocket goes. You know, the foam rocket. I was just really disappointed. When I shot it, I think it only went like 4 or 5 feet. You know, and I was just like, what is this? You know.
Well,
but
especially
as far as everything else on the
build...
vehicle, it just looks. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, especially when you build a whole vehicle around that play feature, you really want that play feature to be awesome. You know what I mean? So if it only shoots forward, yeah. But it is a mean looking vehicle, though. Like the teeth at the front and the back, it's a cool looking vehicle.
Yeah, it just looks awesome. Yeah, and it carries quite a few troops too. So
yeah, it holds a lot of figures. It's got a lot of playability. Like the features on this vehicle.
Yeah, it does.
Even if you don't like that whole, Nerf firing plunger thing, or it doesn't meet your mark, the vehicle itself, even without that gimmick, it's a great mold. It holds a lot of figures. It's got a lot of playability to it.
I could see a lot of customizers stripping that rocket fire out and doing some missile arrays or something up there and having some fun with this vehicle. I do think it is worth noting, like what I was pointing out with the Blockbuster in 1994, that was like the last great investment in a vehicle for a real American hero. It is worth noting that, this reuses the Rolling Thunder's wheels and the General's wheels, and, they cut some corners where they could to cut costs. And so to me, like this vehicle is like an 8, it's not a 10 for me.
You bring up a good point that it reuses the Rolling Thunder's wheels, but it doesn't squeal like the Rolling Thunder does when you roll it. That Rolling Thunder, anyone who owns one, when you roll it, it goes.
Yeah.
I do.
But this doesn't.
What's the engineering difference there? Did they change something about it?
I don't know. It's got to be something about the pegs and the sides of the body or something, but it does not make that god awful noise that the Rolling Thunder does.
That's interesting because the pegs look similar to the General, and I think the General makes that squealing noise too.
So, I don't own a General because I didn't drive to Joe Fest this year. I flew and I couldn't get one.
Right. I wonder what they changed
problems
between 1990 and 1992 that solved that problem. Or 93, excuse me.
I wonder if somebody else has an example of this that does squeal like that.
Yeah. Somebody just lubed yours for you.
Yeah. A little Vaseline in there and put the wheels back on.
Lucky Chad got
Some
the
people
lube
actually do
detonator.
that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, every time I
a
talk
neat
about the
vehicle.
Rolling Thunder, I think about the first example, the Rolling Thunder that I got in the mail. It was shattered.
Oh no.
I took it out of the box, and the wheels just fell off because you know those pegs are long.
Yeah.
All the pegs were.
You know what? I remember you telling me about that, Chad.
Yeah. And then remember, I made that
Yeah.
custom of the other one. I made it into a Night Force, but the wheels don't turn.
Yeah.
I just hot glued those suckers on there. But yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
very cool.
Awesome.
I will
And then
say,
too-
this was one of those vehicles that I actually had a boxed specimen that I got to put together for the first time, and that's always fun because
So
I didn't
nice.
have it as a kid, so it was really cool to have that experience of putting together, putting stickers on and everything. But putting those damn
Yeah.
paper stickers on those cylindrical
I know, man.
freaking foam rockets was such a pain. And then
and they don't
when I went
they
back
don't
to
stay
it-
on either.
they don't. They
Yeah, they
start to
come right
peel
off.
back. Yeah. Oh my
And they're
God.
like
Yeah.
this.
So
As
frustrating.
soon as you put them on, as soon as you put them on, that's what
Mhm.
that's what happened to two of mine. You know, they just came right
Yeah.
off, and I was like, oh
I
my
think-
God, what is
I think I ended up having to
Yeah.
scotch tape them for 3D Joe's documentation so that they wouldn't be curling back off of it. So that was
I
frustrating.
believe it.
So there's scotch tape in these photos, is what you're telling us.
I think so. Now I might have done that trick where you wrap it back around on itself so it's like two-sided and then
Yep.
put it in between and then sandwiched it down. So
Hey.
hopefully you don't see it.
Yeah.
You got to suffer for your craft. Right? And then it
That's
comes
right.
I've
with
never
the
noticed it. So
it comes with the Nitro Viper, and this is a repaint of the Track Viper from the Hiss 2, correct?
Is that 100%
Yeah.
same mold? Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it
He's
is.
got.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
He even has all the weird little tube things on his legs. They're just orange.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this guy holds
He's
the
just colored
distinction.
differently.
This guy holds the distinction of being the lone driver that didn't get a file card.
No.
They ended
Which
up
is
releasing
pretty
his.
odd, actually.
It's very strange. Well, to me, it's just
Yeah.
1993. It's just an example of they're making too much stuff. Somebody didn't put the check in the box for the file card on this guy, and that's what
Yeah.
happens when you're producing 130 figures in a year. But
I
they
think
ended
they were
up
rushing a lot of stuff.
for sure, and I think the weapons trees are symbolic of that. It's like we're not going to design new unique weapons for every one of these guys. We're going to throw some weapons on some trees and push it out. And also we're not going to make card art for everything. We're going to start using some repeating art on some of the sublines. And there was definitely corners being cut by this point, but so that they could increase the number of unique products that they were putting out. But we did end up getting the Nitro Viper file card in a magazine that came out later.
Yep.
So,
That
Yeah.
is correct.
I read about that. Yeah.
I do like how the driver matches the vehicle. I like how the oranges are in sync. I think he
Yeah,
looks
me too.
good with the vehicle. The
Yeah, and
touches of
same with the Track Viper goes really well with the Hiss 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do a
Yep.
good job of that. I
yeah.
dig it.
Great sculpt too.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else for the Detonator and the Nitro Viper?
Just be careful with those tubes, man. Unplug your tubes, guys.
Yep.
Watch your tubes, people. Public service announcement.
That's right.
All right, cool. So we're going to move on. And this one is James's. And Carson, you kind of talked about this vehicle already.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. 1994 Razor Blade.
Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead, James.
It's in my opinion, it's kind of cool. It's got some action stuff going on with it. I don't really know. I mean, I don't really like the whole pulley thing on the top of it, though. I think that it's really like way too big. I don't know. I just don't really like the size of it and just the way. And also, they put the G.I. Joe sticker on that, and you're supposed to put it like on the vehicle itself. And now, if you were to take that pulley part off of the top of it, there's no G.I. Joe label that's going to be on the actual vehicle itself. So
Weird.
that's kind of weird.
Weird.
Yeah. But
And
I mean, the
I'm
vehicle
sure.
looks pretty cool. It's just, yeah.
I was just going to
looks
say
cool.
that.
It just.
I'm sorry. You go ahead. You finish.
Oh, it's all right.
I was just going to say, well, let me pull up the sticker sheet just to be sure. But that was another one that came fresh out of the box for me. And I gotta be honest, man. My reaction to it when I got it all assembled and got the stickers on was like, what in the hell? the the isn't the cockpit really simple? Like there's like no detail in the cockpit on this thing.
Yeah.
It
not
just
really.
it just felt unfinished to me. It was just one of those like, you have this primal, like if I was a kid and I pulled this out of the box and put it together for the first time and looked at it, played with it, inspected it, you're looking at things like mold details, how much time and art and effort and energy did they put into this thing. And I just remember being really underwhelmed with this one.
Yeah.
So
I do like the way that the cockpit looks on the outside of it, but
the canopy's cool.
It doesn't really have a whole lot. Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot going for it besides that. It just looks really boxy and blocky with no details, really. The details are lacking, for sure.
I don't like the snub-nosed design of that cockpit, but it always reminds me of Junkyard's muzzle. Like, if you look at it, it looks like Junkyard's muzzle.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say, because I'm keeping score, Josiah says, never seen this before, but it's cool. That's the third time on this show. On
no, that's fourth.
Is that 4?
Somebody get a recount.
Fourth time,
yeah.
I'm going to go back and look.
Okay.
When I look at this vehicle, it looks like a modern drone.
Yeah.
Those little drones that people buy on like Amazon? It looks like a drone to me.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
I don't really have beef with it, but it's not something that I feel I need in my collection. I mean, I've handled one. I've played with it. I've done the gimmick, but I don't need it. I like that it's OD green, but
I do like the colors. I'll give it that. I'll give it that much. You know what I mean? It's just odd to me. I just don't love it, man. Like the 4 missiles are mounted on the left-hand side. The spring-loaded launcher is mounted on the right-hand side. It just feels kind of I don't know, man. It's just not not symmetrical. Yeah, it just feels kind of thrown together. It just feels kind of rushed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really do remember the cockpit turning me off, like looking in the cockpit and just being like, oh, they just phoned this one in,
Yeah.
So, like, okay, so you compare this to your first vehicle, the Sea Ray, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't compare the Sea Ray. This doesn't even come close to the Sea Ray. The Sea Ray broke apart into a submarine and a glider. It had this really nice organic tail to it. The Sea Ray is an awesome vehicle.
And there's so many fine details to it too. And this has none of that.
Yeah.
I do like the front part of it. The front part of this whole vehicle is awesome looking, but the rest of it, no, I think I'm gonna leave it at that.
It's like utilitarian. It's like, okay, we got this play feature, this trolley thing at the top. Okay, we got to throw a spring-loaded launcher on there. Okay, put that on the right side. Where the missiles go, I throw them on the left side. Okay, we got to have landing gears.
It looks like a tool, okay? It looks just like a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what was that toy line that their whole gimmick was like these lines? What's that, Sky Raiders? What was that called?
The Airlandia people?
Yeah,
was it Air Raiders?
Sky something. Oh man, what was that?
Anyway,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's just that gimmick,
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
There it is. 1994 Battle Core Razor Blade. That was
so when you have that kind of vehicle coming out in 94, and then you have something like the Blockbuster, that's what really makes me appreciate the Blockbuster. It's got an awesome play feature. It's all new mold parts, nice detailed molding everywhere. Like the Blockbuster is a pretty solid vehicle, especially when compared to the stuff that was coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Blockbuster eludes me, so I need it even more now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, maybe you might know this, Carson. Why is it so hard to find a Blockbuster? Like, is it just lower numbers or like?
Yeah, I think since it only came out in 94 and it didn't get a long shelf life and there was no redistribution in 95, I think it's just a matter of, it's just like the Night Force stuff that was only sold at Toys R Us and only for a year. So it's super hard to get a hold of. I think it was just, it came late,
Okay.
And see, the Night Boomer I don't need because whatever, I don't need a Night Boomer, but I really want a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Cool.
You should get a Blockbuster.
I do
It's a
too.
cool
I
vehicle.
do too. Trust me.
I'm gonna, my friend, and when I do, I'm going to shout it from the highest mountain. And that comes to the
Awesome.
end. But in classic fashion for Neon at Night, we have an honorable mention.
All right.
And I'm gonna bring it up, and then we're just gonna see.
Oh God.
Oh my God. That is my least
Dishonorable.
favorite vehicle.
This is your
least favorite
dishonorable mention.
This is our dishonorable mention for
Mhm.
episode 4, and it is the Cobra Rat hovercraft. Technically a water vehicle, right? It's the land or sea.
Kinda.
So, yeah, land or sea.
It's got like the whole
technically a
thing's
water
like 5
vehicle.
parts. There's like 5 parts to it. That's it. It's just
Except
5,
for the
I think
fact
5 parts, right?
It won't float. That's for sure. Because there's
This-
no bottom.
Yeah.
Look at this guy's feet just sticking out of the bottom.
No,
Yeah.
it's just a shell. That's all it is.
Let me
like
see
a
it.
Shell.
Let me see it again. You got one in your
mean-
hands? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look at that thing. That is
It's
a
just
travesty.
terrible.
I haven't, yeah, so this is an incomplete one, right? The little lawnmower blades of
Yeah.
death. I don't have it on this side, on the
Sure.
on the
You
right
can
hand
imagine
side.
it.
I got
It's
it
just-
in a lot, and I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever," and then I just stuck it on a shelf.
Yeah. This is an abomination.
Probably just keep it as like a novelty, really.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll never own in my collection because that's the only vehicle I truly did like hate, like dislike. That's the only vehicle that I could really say 100% do not like that vehicle is the Rat.
Uh-huh.
Guess what you're about to get in the mail then?
Oh man, please don't do that. Please don't.
Don't make me throw away a toy.
Oh man,
Don't force me to do it, Carson.
when
God, please
You
no,
own a
please
Rat?
no.
Yeah, I do. I don't.
Mhm.
I'm not proud. You know.
That's all right, you know.
I only bought it because I had to document it. You know,
Yep.
and the
Yeah,
second
that's true.
the second that I was done documenting it, I never looked at it again. I never played with it again. It's one of those things where
Yeah, I don't blame
you know the original G.I. Joe vehicles were two-sided, and when they started to cheap out on the molds and hollow things out, at least
Yep.
initially, they were still putting mold details on the bottom side where you still had when you flipped it over, you could see some details. This is literally just like one piece of plastic that's sucked down around a mold, and it's just, you're done. It's hollow on the inside. What you see on the inside is just the inside of what you see on the outside. There's nothing there. There's no thought there. There's no art there.
Nope.
And like I was praising the art of, the designs and then the sculptures and the colors. It's just, it's really, really
Nothing.
bad, man.
There's nothing.
It's just terrible. It's absolutely
really bad.
terrible.
Yeah. And I never hear anybody defend this vehicle. Like it's an
There's
indefensible
no way to
position.
defend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one neon vehicle that I will never defend.
It's amazing that they featured this in the commercial. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah,
if I was releasing this, I would not have been promoting it.
yeah.
Pendragon says that it's the McDonald's Happy Meal version of a Cobra vehicle, which I can totally
There you
agree.
go.
because
That's-
There's like nothing to
That's
it.
the best
and
way
then,
to say it, really.
and then he said the pilot is the Hamburglar.
Poor Firefly got stuck in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my dishonorable mention. Is
Yeah,
the,
rightfully
That's
so.
terrible.
1992 Cobra Rat.
Earn that slot.
And Chad, please don't send that to me, please. Don't.
Did you call it? I don't know if I misheard this, but did you call it a hover crap?
No, I called it a hovercraft.
I thought you did. I was like, yes, that's a high-speed attack hover crap.
Yeah, we're keeping that. We're gonna keep
Yes.
that then. How about that?
That's a good
Yeah.
name for it. Yeah.
So
That's a
the
good
honorable
name for it.
mention for episode 4, Neon at Night, with our good friend Carson Mataxis, is the 1992 Cobra Rat hovercrap.
There you go.
There you go. That's
Unforgivable.
for posterity's sake.
That's
All right,
perfect.
so-
Perfect.
I
Moving
mean,
on from
the poor box art. Go back to the box art for a second. The poor box artist. It's like, okay, wait, what does this thing do? Oh, okay, those front little pieces they cut the plants while it goes through the swamp. Okay, I'll draw that.
Yeah.
Look at the drawing there where it's like
That's just
cutting the
so-
leaves.
It's so stupid.
It's just a nuisance. like just destroying frog habitats, just for giggles. Yep. It's just ridiculous.
And then it shows the stalks too.
Yeah. Yes. Right decapitated stalks.
Take that.
It's an amplified lawnmower.
Take that, water lily. Yeah.
It's so bad.
There it is. Yep. And even like these little spikes, they're just like poorly molded. Like you can barely even make them out. Like when you look at it, you're just like, oh yeah, I guess that's what it's supposed to be. But the motor, everything, every little detail is just a blob of red.
Yeah, it's just bad.
Like, and then the launcher
crap
isn't, this launcher doesn't really do shit.
Oh wow, really? It doesn't work?
I mean, unless, well, you kind of have to push it in, and I don't have the disc.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. It doesn't do anything.
Gotcha. Is that disc the same as the 92 roadblock that got recalled? Do you know?
You tell me, man.
Actually.
You're Carson.
I mean, I'd have to go downstairs.
I don't.
No, it's an interesting piece of trivia. I wonder if that's the same mechanism. But
that would be really cool. Yeah, I would like to really know that. Actually,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Watch the Cobra Rat skyrocket in value because people are going to try to sell roadblocks as if they have the right disc.
Right.
Be careful out there, people.
Yeah.
Watch out for fakes.
Proceed with caution.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So we're going to move on. That comes to the end of our figures, our vehicles, the dishonorable mention from the Cobra Rat. And now I'm going to go back to this question, and I am going to let you have the stage, Carson.
Cool, man. So my buddy Joe came over this weekend, like I was saying, for a couple days. Where we're at with it is I actually got COVID when I was in Rochester. And I was going from Rochester to Rhode Island to pick up Ron's artwork and then going to Kirk's house to do the line review. So I ended up meeting with Ron and his wife, Jenny, on their porch with masks on and getting the artwork and not going to Kirk's house because I'll be damned if I bring Kurt Ziggy in COVID. So anyway, I came back home. And what we've done now is scanned in all of the drawings for Ron and Mark for all 19 figures. And so you've got ideation that's like anywhere from 4 drawings to like 8 to 10 drawings. Mark Pennington's been going off on ideation. So we just got done scanning all those and creating 8.5 by 14 legal documents of all the drawings. And that's what Joe was working on all weekend. So now I'm going to be scheduling the meetings with Kirk over Zoom, and we'll probably do 2 to 4 figures a day. So the answer to your question is I don't have it scheduled yet. We're doing all that work to get it into the computer, printed out on documents that Kirk can then mark up so we can do the reviews via Zoom because COVID got me. First time in 2.5 years, that I finally got it. But it was legit, man. I had 101 fevers for like 4 or 5 days straight. I had body aches all over. I felt like I was 70. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
Man.
And then I had a bunch of congestion, headaches, whatever. It was legit for like 4 or 5 days. And then the symptoms lingered for like 2-3 weeks. But I'm feeling much better now.
That's how it was for me when I had it.
For that. Yeah. And
it sucks.
I'd had the vaccine 3 times. It didn't matter. And I'm not saying that the vaccine doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
But you'll still get it. I mean, the Department of Defense, the DOD forced all of us to get it, and I've had coronavirus 3 times.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember one time I was so sick with it.
It doesn't even do anything,
Yeah, but I was so sick with it. I was sitting eating a pizza, and I was like, it's just like warm mush. Like
you couldn't taste it.
I was just like.
Yeah. Luckily, I didn't lose.
I remember losing my taste for certain foods too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, so that was that unfortunately was a monkey wrench where I wasn't able to go to Kirk's house and do it in person, which would have been a lot of fun, man. But there was no way I was taking it over to Kirk's house. So
cool. Well, I have to say that, dude, your Operation Recall was like just. You seem to have this knack because I think it's because you're such a huge part of the Joe community. I could gush on you all day. but
Oh, I appreciate it,
you
man.
you understand, like, with the omnibus, with all the art of, with your posters, that I've got them everywhere. It's just like the work that you put in, like, people really want this stuff. Like, Operation Recall is the successor to A Real American Hero.
It's pretty awesome.
It is, man. It's the spiritual successor because it's the guys that made G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero so successful. It's the art and creativity behind it. And honestly, for me, I want to make things that I want to see exist in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so Joe had done a great job of archiving, but it wasn't, like, from a design perspective, super aesthetically pleasing, right? So I wanted to go in and obsess over the box art and take better photos and do the 360 photo gimmick, because I thought it mattered to see it from every angle. And
oh yeah, definitely.
So for me, the concurrent theme throughout my last 10 years plus of working on G.I. Joe stuff is I want to make things that I want to see exist in the world. And if I'm lucky, other people will want to see it exist too. And so the website's been popular. The posters have done well enough. The book series, like, why had nobody done a art book series that collected all the painted package art of G.I. Joe: Real American Hero? It certainly was worthy and deserved the time and attention, and just nobody had done it. And so, Operation Recall, I was going to make that one little chapter in this book. It was going to be, what's the process of designing a figure from start to finish with the original guys, because I was already going around to interview them. And they all said yes, and we did it, and it was amazing. And the final product of Ritello was awesome. And they were all kind of sad that it was coming to an end. So I was, I've got like an email list of 7,000 people now that have supported me in the past. So it was like, this doesn't have to be over. Let me just go ask these people if they want you guys to make some more. And I'll be damned if they didn't, come out hard, 415K, So I'm super grateful that everybody, to your point, the ideas of things that I want to see come to life in this world, other people seem to be agreeing with me. Like, yes, we should make that, be it the book or the figures with these guys or whatever. So thank you guys, every one of you that have, supported, backed, pledged, said nice things to me, man, because my love language is words of affirmation, and I work my ass off on this stuff. I truly do. And so if people saying nice things to me about what it means to them, that's fuel in the tank, man. So I appreciate you guys that send me the positive vibes.
Yeah. I have to say, man, like, the entire thing of Operation Recall, just from, your original thought of it, going all the way back to your childhood, like when you showed me that letter and you're like, look, here's my original letter. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
That's really cool.
The whole thing is just great. And the fact that you took fan submissions and you included the community and everything that you did was just, the tone was right. The time was right. It was just a brilliant campaign.
I wanted you guys to have this stuff. Yeah. I wanted you guys to have the same fun that I just got done having. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just, to me, it just seems natural. Like, the ideas that keep coming, they just seem to be naturally coming. It's like naturally flowing. And so thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I hope we get to, at some point, I hope we get to release, like, if it's via the website or something, all of the concepts, like all 170 that came in, just so you guys, because there's so much good stuff there, man. Like,
I want to see Mike Irizarry's for what's on Joe Mind. I want to see it. Anyway, and then Pendragon says that Easy Kill 9 will soon relaunch, which I hope so, because I backed it. I wanted to see it happen, so I definitely want to see that.
I'm stoked to see what he just said right there, that he'll have a couple painted prototypes. I think that'll definitely help, man.
Yeah, totally, for sure. And then Christopher said artwork is awesome, and then Pendragon said the Operation Recall campaign was one of the best I've ever seen.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely true. It was just the campaign was so cool because so many people got inspired by it and started contributing to it. The music video came out of nowhere from some guys in New Zealand. Do you know what I mean? It was amazing. Like, artwork was coming in from everywhere. Like, it was a community, like, groundswell of support, man.
I'm just really, really grateful, man. Like, I feel like I'm the executive officer. Like, I'm not even the dude at the top. I'm just like here trying to rally the troops below me and get people inspired. And man, the campaign,
That's really
the campaign was simultaneously like exhilarating and exhausting. You know,
floodgates is what it was. It was floodgates. Hey, James.
Yeah.
You like story time.
Okay.
You want to hear a story?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
So, Carson was having submissions for figure designs, and you could submit up to 3, right? Okay. My fingers weren't in frame. Up to 3 submissions. And I submitted 3, and Carson knows this story, right? Probably nobody else does. I submitted 3. And then one day I was here at my computer, not on my phone app for my mail. And I was at my computer and I see this outbox. There's something in my outbox. And I was like, what's this in my outbox? Right. And I go and I look, yeah, it was my submissions.
There's always here too, man.
I know. And you and I talked about that. The files were too big. They never went. And I was like, oh, well, I'll keep those for another time. Yeah, it was just funny.
Just put that in your back pocket for year 2, you know?
But you know what? Like, what you did get and what you chose, they were all so great. Also
appreciate it, man.
Like, it just fits the flow.
I hope you guys enjoy. You know, on the Blu-ray, we're going to put the video footage from that summit. We called it the summit, where I got Mark and Ron and Kirk together and we went through the submissions and picked them in. It was an amazing, like, collaborative environment. It was really cool to see Kirk in his element, you know, kind of deciding, okay, before we pick any actual figures, let's talk about, you know, strategically, what kind of figures do we think we want? Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and like kind of picking before we even get started, filling people into the slots. What should those slots kind of consist of? It was cool, man. It was really cool seeing, you know, Mark Pennington and Ron Rudat looking at other people's concepts and then say, that's cool. And what if we layered this on it? What if we did that with it? You know? So it was a ton of fun, man. I just feel lucky that, you know, we did the Ratello thing again, just as a chapter in the book, and that it grew into something so much bigger than that, because that just means I get to keep having all these awesome touch points with these guys and making new toys from it. It's unreal, man.
Yeah. It's so rad, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, just living vicariously through, like, watching it from, you know, conception to where it is now. I loved it, man. I loved every minute of it. And speaking of which, and I didn't put a slide up here of it because I'm a shitbag. You posted the first 100 pages of the omnibus in that 30-minute video. Brother, I must have watched that thing like 15 times.
Nice. That's been my life.
That's cool.
It's so informative.
That book has been my life for like the last month. Well, obviously it's been like a big portion of my life for the last 8 years. We already did the softcover series. This is the next version of that. So it's been a big part of my life, been a big part of Chad Huckle's life too. He's doing a ton of image restoration right now, but just the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been doing layouts and writing, right? And it's been so much fun. So doing that live stream video review of the first 100 pages, it's also like fresh in front of mind, like it's loaded to my RAM, my short-term memory, like I'm ready to fire off and just talk about it. So anybody out there that
awesome.
is interested in the book, that backed the book, have a watch, man. It's like a 30-minute video, but it goes through all the part that I'm most pleased with for the book is the artist profiles, the different people that I have gotten the chance to meet and to be able to present some of their history and contributions to the brand. That's my favorite part, man. So, you know, there's like 8 pages for, there's like 8 pages for Ron Rudat. There's like 8 pages for Ed Morrill and Hector Garrido. There's a few pages for Bart Doe, who did the Tycho stuff. I just wrote the Earl Norham section. So being able to write about these amazing illustrators in addition to presenting their work is truly an honor. And like, I'm in my flow right now with doing the layouts and doing the writing. It's an incredible time. And again, I wouldn't be able to push off my video and animation work in favor of doing this book work if you guys didn't all get behind me and say, hell yes, we want you to make that. So again, it goes back to you guys saying, yes, we want you to do what you want to do. So thank you.
Yeah. And that omnibus is gorgeous.
Thanks,
Carson.
man.
It is a beautiful. It's not even a book. It's people talk about coffee table books. This thing is a coffee table that is a book. Like you could literally like put legs on it.
Just add legs.
It's gigantic.
Yeah.
It's
Somebody's gonna 3D print like a Storm Shadow with a sword and a Snake Eyes with a sword on the opposite side, and that's gonna be the legs, and it's just gonna hold this book up.
Yeah,
I mean it's at least
cool.
at least 15 pounds. This case right here. So the book itself is 13.5 wide by 14.5 tall, and you add more to that for the case. Obviously, it's 2.5 inches deep. Like it's massive. It's at least 15 pounds. It's a big baby.
Yeah,
so.
It is such a great book. And real quick, I got to give a shout out to Christopher because he's late because he was out skating. And you know what?
Don't ever apologize for skateboarding.
Exactly.
Exactly, dude.
I still get out there and get it in too. So
nice.
Very cool. Carson, we can't thank you enough for hanging out with us today.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. It's good to get back to hanging out with my buddies.
It's an honor, man. It's really an honor to actually get to meet you for the very first time. I mean,
well, you too, man.
I'm a big like follower of like your work and everything, and it's just to actually get to talk to you is just such a big honor, and I just want to thank you for coming on the show.
It's been my pleasure, man.
So.
It's been my pleasure. Anybody else? I'm always happy to meet my Joe friends. I love going to the conventions and meeting everybody in person. And so
you're such a great guy to talk to too, and
thank you,
you
man.
know so much stuff. So it's just
there's always more to learn.
Great.
There's always more to learn, man. I'm just a sponge trying to soak it up, So
right on, man. And you're really humble too. I like that,
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
This is not snow cones, okay? It's a sun setting in the water with a palm tree.
All right, Chuckles.
Ass.
It's good hanging out with you guys, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Good hanging out with you too, man.
Thanks for coming, Carson. And James, as always, thank you for being with me, my friend.
Yep, no problem, man. It's always a pleasure.
I would like to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us and for, inviting Carson to hang out with us on Neon at Night and talk some 90s shows.
Yep.
And I can't thank everybody enough. And Ryan B says, awesome stream. Thank you. You guys we're going to say kick butt. Hit the like and subscribe.
Nice.
Take care. Thank you all so very much.
Thanks.
And we are going to Carson, you got any closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts would be, if you're a kid of the 80s like me that collected in the early to mid 80s, don't write off the 90s. Take another look. Give it a chance. Look at Ace version 2. Look at Shipwreck version 2. Look at Headhunter Stormtroopers as a troop builder for Iron Grenadiers. There are some diamonds in there. So don't be that guy that's like, I only buy 82 to 86 or whatever. Like, legit, look at the 90s. You will find figures that are as good or better than some of the 82 to 86 stuff. So that would be my closing thoughts for Neon 90s.
Definitely awesome, man. Well said. Well said.
I'm going to save that. I'm going to crop that later, and we're going to use that as our disclaimer.
Cool. Sounds good.
Do I have your permission?
Awesome, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're the man, buddy.
Oh, cool,
James,
dude. Awesome.
James, do you have any closing thoughts?
Oh, man. Well, as a kid of the 90s, the late 80s to the early 90s, I grew up with all the spring-loaded, all the gimmicky stuff, and to me, this is all just natural. This is just what I grew up with. And I just love talking about it. I really love the show. I like being a part of it. And I'm just very grateful, So, I really, that's about it. I don't really have a whole lot to say. That's about it.
I'm just thankful for everybody in the chat that really felt that the idea that you and I had regarding talking about 90s Joes, because a lot of people write off 90s Joes. I'm glad that it resonated with some people, because you and I are really the only ones, even though my channel's a small channel, you and I are really the only ones that talk 90s Joes. And I thought it was cool that people got on board with that concept. So
there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yep.
There's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, my friend, for hanging out with us.
No doubt. Yo, Joes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yo, Joe.
Definitely.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
Peace.
G.I. Joe!
It's good versus evil, and this time the battle's bigger than ever. G.I. Joe figures and vehicles sold separately.
Get me the plasma tops, and Cobra will rule the world!
Here comes the sinister Cobra Paralyzer with 3 awesome missiles that really fire.
Fire! I've got the plasma tops! Cobra!
Not so fast, Snake Breath! It's the G.I. Joe Badger with 3 powerful firing missiles.
Fire!
G.I. Joe, American hero!
You like heights?
G.I. Joe!
Cobra Paralyzer and G.I. Joe Badger sold separately.
Anybody